Chapter 61, Distorted Ideology, Outer Courtyard Observations. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan's departure barely changed Shu Yan's routine. Since his breakthrough to Spirit King, his command of spatial force had advanced, and his analyses of spatial mysteries were steadily deepening. Xuanzi's earlier conjecture was beginning to prove true. As his spatial control strengthened, Shu Yan had at last made a small step toward manipulating temporal force. There was, however, one persistent problem: his mental force. By ordinary standards, he was extraordinary. His mental power surpassed most Spirit Kings and even outshone many Spirit Emperors. The catch was that he was not a mental attribute Spirit Master, and the secret technique he used to temper mental force had limited effect. Worse, the higher his cultivation climbed, the less effective the technique became. It was no longer enough for his needs. That left him searching for other ways to accelerate his mental force growth. Absorbing a spirit bone was off the table for the time being. He could not obtain a head-type mental spirit bone 100,000 years or older with his current resources. Among the 6 spirit bones a person can absorb, head and torso spirit bones are the most crucial and irreplaceable. Limb spirit bones can sometimes be substituted through special techniques. There are even risky precedents for regrowing severed limbs with spirit bones, like Zhuang Lao of Shrek Academy's Sea God Pavilion. But such methods are costly and uncertain. Failure can mean worse injuries or even death. No one had ever successfully replaced a head or torso spirit bone. Still, the situation was slowly evolving. The Sun Moon Empire's advanced soul-guiding device technology had begun to unsettle the traditional Spirit Master orders on the original continent's 3 kingdoms. That pressure forced rapid iteration of cultivation paths and secret techniques. Under threat, people often find new potential within themselves. At the same time, that circumstance highlighted how distorted the Douluo Continent's social and ideological development had become. Take the original continent's 3 kingdoms. After barely surviving a war 4,000 years ago, the ruling elites grew inward-looking and arrogant. No matter how advanced the Sun Moon Empire's soul-guiding devices were, many in the 3 great empires stubbornly insisted that traditional Spirit Master factions were superior and unassailable. That mentality persisted for millennia, even at Shrek Academy, which prided itself on leading the continent. The backwardness of soul-guiding technology in those empires was partly due to a technological blockade by the Sun Moon Empire. But ultimately, it was the entrenched attitudes of high officials that held progress back. 1 or 2 dissenters couldn't change such an entrenched ideology. Ideology is the greatest brake on human development. The same dynamic showed up inside Shrek Academy. Inner courtyard and outer courtyard students were constantly infused with the idea of preserving Shrek Academy's 10,000-year glory long before their values matured. That kind of indoctrination made many willing to sacrifice everything for the Academy's reputation. It wasn't something to praise. It was tragic. Many of those students were geniuses or heirs carefully raised by their families, but once they enrolled at Shrek Academy, they slowly forgot their original intentions and severed ties with home. The Academy's internal atmosphere reshaped them until their thinking completely conformed to its ethos. In many ways, Shrek Academy was the world in miniature, distorted, contradictory, brilliant, and tainted at once. As the school year wound down, outer courtyard students felt both joy and anxiety. Joy because a month-long vacation meant returning home, visiting relatives, and recovering from a year of study and cultivation. Anxiety because the semester restart meant promotion and advancement assessments. Inner courtyard students didn't share those worries. Some outer courtyard students stayed on campus for the break. Others planned to travel the continent for experience. Shu Yan and Han Ruoro's plans had already been set. Han Ruoro was about to break through to Spirit Douluo, so they would naturally return to Lingdo City. Walking the path along Sea God Lake in the outer courtyard, Shu Yan felt a familiar pull. Han Ruoro had led him here when he first arrived at Shrek Academy. Now, nearly a year later, walking the same trail with her, his mood was different and the scenery seemed even more beautiful. Han Ruoro fiddled with the hem of her red school uniform, puzzled. "That's odd," she whispered. "It fit perfectly last month." Shu Yan cocked his head and teased. "Han Ruoro, you've put on weight again." Hanroro glared, indignant. You're the one who's gained weight. I eat so regularly. There's no way I could have gained anything. Oh, really? Shu Yan's smile widened. Then why won't your zipper close? Is it broken? He shot a quick, discreet look at her chest. She had clearly made an effort over the past 6 months. Hanroro felt his gaze and tugged at the tight fabric, a faint blush on her fair cheeks. Shu Yan's attention was more direct than before. Embarrassed and secretly pleased, she wondered if she'd gotten the kind of figure he liked. When people truly liked someone, they changed to suit that person, and Hanroro had deliberately worked on her curves. She had put a lot of effort and research into this transformation. Sneaking a glance down, she realized she couldn't see her toes. Her thoughts wandered. If she and Shu Yan had a child in the future, there'd be no fear of hunger, and a certain pervert wouldn't go hungry either. For the past 6 months, Hanroro swore she hadn't been secretly reading smutty books, although the source of such material wasn't a mystery. It traced back to the quiet and gentle lotus fairy, Hua Yao. Since Hua Yao had confirmed her relationship with Gu Fan, they'd moved in together, and their life had become unexpectedly sweet. The lotus fairy, who looked subdued outwardly, had hidden depths. Gu Fan had clearly found something else to occupy him besides cultivation. Shu Yan had run into him in the cafeteria last month and had been startled. Someone normally composed and stable had seemed drained, spiritless, like an empty shell. Gu Fan managed a forced smile when Shu Yan appeared and then was pulled away by Hua Yao. Shu Yan had sensed a faint resentment under that smile and could only sigh inwardly. You can't judge a book by its cover. Who would think the gentle lotus fairy could be so fierce in private? Shu Yan glanced at the increasingly mature, alluring Hanroro and found himself thinking. Hanroro was 26, 4 years away from the first major turning point many believed women faced at 30. If people joked that a woman at 30 was like a wolf and at 40 like a tiger, then Hanroro at 30 would be something to reckon with. Their private thoughts were interrupted when several figures rounded the path ahead. The 5 of them paused in the shade, apparently surprised. Shu Sanshi, someone Shu Yan had met before, recovered first. He released his arm from around Beibei's shoulder and greeted, "Hello, senior brother, senior sister." The boy and girl beside him glanced at Shu Yan and Hanroro's red uniforms with surprise and echoed the greeting. Shu Yan and Hanroro returned the hello, and Shu Yan took the chance to study the two in purple uniforms. The young man beside Shu Sanshi looked 15 or 16, tall, slender, with a handsome, refined face. His short, dark blue hair gleamed like gemstones in the sun. He radiated gentleness with a trace of danger beneath it. The girl had a high ponytail and an exquisite oval face. She was one of the most outstanding beauties Shu Yan had seen. Hanroro's surprise lasted only a moment before she laughed and said, "You're Shu Sanshi, Beibei, and Tang Ya from the outer courtyard, right?" Shu Sanshi looked momentarily taken aback. "Senior sister, you know us?" Hanroro's gaze swept them again, amused. "Of course, I've heard of the outer courtyard's famous twin stars. Junior sister Tangya is also a well-known beauty. When the 3 of you are together, you're hard to miss." As soon as Hanroro spoke, Tangya, who was more thin-skinned, was the first to look away, cheeks flushing with embarrassment. Despite her lively, outgoing demeanor, she was still a little girl who could be easily shy. Shu Yan glanced at Shu Sanshi, then let his gaze fall on Beibei standing nearby. Beibei noticed and smiled before saying softly, "I've heard your name for a long time, senior. Seeing you now, you live up to it. Will I ever get to compete with you on the same stage?" Shu Yan's smile was faint. "No rush. Come test yourself against me only after you, Beibei, have stabilized the light holy dragon bloodline within you and completed your spirit evolution. For now, you shouldn't face me on the same stage. I don't often go easy on my opponents." Beibei's smile faltered for a moment. He wasn't surprised that Shu Yan knew about his spirit. After all, Shu Yan's grandfather had once saved his own grandfather's life, but the reminder made him deferential. "All right, I'll come find you for a match once I've mastered it. But when that day comes, you have to go easy on me. I'm not as resilient as that guy Shu Sanshi." At the sound of his name, Shu Sanshi strolled over and casually slung an arm around Beibei's shoulders. "What are you saying about me? Did I hear my name?" Bebe, are you secretly slandering me? I've known for ages you're jealous of my looks. Bei gave him a look of mild contempt and murmured, "Talk about looks when you can say that in front of Jiang Nanan." Shu Sanqi's smile froze, and the arm across Bei's shoulder tightened awkwardly. Tangya laughed and jabbed at him. "Sanqi, what Bei said isn't wrong. If you say that in front of Nanan again, I'll force Bei to call you his big brother. Don't doubt it, Bei listens to me the most." Bei shot Tangya a helpless look. The confident expression on her face made him bite back whatever retort he had been about to make. He doted on his girlfriend. There was no denying it. After a short silence, Shu Sanqi sighed deeply. "You don't understand. Nanan doesn't like the way I act around you." Shu Yan's mouth twitched. "Is it possible Jiang Nanan doesn't like you as a person?" "Impossible. Absolutely impossible," Shu Sanqi insisted. "If I let her see my true feelings, she would accept me. Don't try to dissuade me, senior. I will win her over." Shu Yan hesitated, then asked finally, "Why bother? With your position as young lord of the profound nether sect, how many women could you not have? Aside from Jiang Nanan, there are many beauties in the outer courtyard. What you're doing is meaningless. It will only bring trouble." This time, Shu Sanqi was silent. He found it hard to argue. Shu Yan seemed to see straight into him, and the words struck the most vulnerable part of his heart. Shu Yan added, unusually candid, "I'm telling you this not only because we share the imperial bloodline, but because I don't want you to be trapped by past guilt, chasing after someone out of compulsion. Our elders have deep ties and inseparable obligations. You must remember, you are the future successor of the profound nether sect. You carry its rise and fall. Your face is not just your own, it is the face of the entire sect. I understand your guilt toward Jiang Nanan, but in the end, that was an arrangement. Both parties consented. There was no coercion. If you keep going like this, it won't be worth what your parents sacrificed." Shu Sanqi's hands, hanging at his sides, clenched, then slowly relaxed. "I don't know what to do anymore. I really don't know." There was pain and confusion in his voice. Shu Yan's words forced him to face a truth he'd been avoiding. Whether his feelings were love, guilt, or obsession, he could no longer tell. Habit had replaced purpose, and now he was unsure what he truly wanted. After a long moment, he straightened his shoulders and forced a smile. "No matter what, thank you. Next time you return to Lingdo City, please give my respects to your majesty." Shu Yan nodded without replying. After exchanging a few more words with Bei and Tangya, he walked off with Han Ruoro. Once Shu Yan and Han Ruoro were gone, Bei and Tangya recovered from their shock. Tangya stepped up and patted Shu Sanqi's shoulder, incredulous. "You little brat, so you actually have the dueling imperial bloodline?" Bei stared at him with new interest. As Shu Sanqi's closest rival and brother in the outer courtyard, he had never guessed Shu Sanqi's true background. Shu Sanqi watched Shu Yan's disappearing figure and exhaled slowly. "It's true. My mother was the youngest sister of the previous dueling emperor. She's not old, but in the imperial family her seniority is high. She's the current dueling emperor's paternal aunt." "What?" Bei and Tangya blurted together, staring at him in disbelief. Bei stepped forward, patted Shu Sanqi's shoulder, and said, "If that's true, considering Jiang Nanan's status, she really might not be good enough for you." "I don't know the details of that arrangement Senior mentioned," Bei went on. "But if it wasn't coerced, then you don't owe her anything. Your guilt might be misplaced." Shu Sanqi was quiet for a while, then said, Bei, come with me to the Dohun district. I need to fight. My head's clouded. We can talk about other things later." Bei didn't hesitate. "I'll go with you. We can spar as long as you want today." He looked at Tangya. "Xiaoya, sorry. Shopping in Shrek City will have to wait." "Sanqi." Tangya waved it off. "It's fine. We can shop another time. Let's go to the Dohun district. I could use the practice." The three of them walked toward the outer courtyard's Dohun district, but the air was noticeably dampened now. Laughter had drained away. Between the towering buildings, Hanroro suddenly spoke. "Ayan, are you hiding something from me? I feel like you always know things I don't, like your talk with Bei. You seem to understand him well." Shu Yan took Hanruoro's jade hand and said gently, "There are things I don't want to tell you yet, Roro-ji. The layers involved are deep and the impact would be broad. It's not convenient to explain now. As for Bei, you only need to know that in terms of background, very few in the world rival him. His blue lightning tyrant dragon spirit conceals an even greater power, one that stems from the light holy dragon. Light holy dragon? Hanroro murmured. A thread of memory surfaced, as if something important had been at the tip of her mind. She tried to follow it deeper, but the memory blurred and stopped. No matter how hard she strained, she couldn't reach the truth. The pain of knowing the answer and not being able to recall it frayed her composure. "Oh, Ayan, please tell me. Please, I'm so anxious," she blurted, suddenly clinging to his arm. Her soft touch and strange urgency made Shu Yan freeze. He didn't respond at once, and Hanroro, seeing his silence, panicked. "No, I mean my heart is itching, not that." Her face flushed. "I mean, it feels like I should remember, but I just can't. You know what I mean, right?" Shu Yan's mischievous side rose. He put on an exaggeratedly stern face. "Ruoroje, I didn't expect you to be like this." Hanroro's grip tightened until her fingers ached, eyes already shining. Shu Yan's resolve faltered. He gently withdrew the arm she was holding and, before he could regret teasing her, reached up to wipe the moisture from her cheeks. "All right, I was only joking," he said softly. "Since when did you become so tearful? You're not like the Ruoroje I know." Seeing her so close to tears was pitiful. Shu Yan scolded himself inwardly for being a jerk. He coaxed her gently until the panic drained away. When her breathing evened out, Hanroro reached out and took his hand herself, pleading with a tremble in her voice. "So, are you going to tell me now?" "Not yet," Shu Yan said. "I'll tell you when we get back to the inner courtyard, but first we have to eat." Okay. Do you want the cafeteria or at home? If at home, sister will make noodles for you." Shu Yan hesitated a moment, then decided, "Let's eat at home. I want the noodles you make." Hanroro brightened and tugged him along as they walked toward the inner courtyard, the small warmth between them restoring the day's ordinary rhythm, at least for now. Chapter 63, Spirit-Devouring Engraving Knife, Shrek's Injustice, and Dr. Xian 3. Guyun, who had gone south to Star Luo, returned to Shrek City nearly a month after she left. She had brought back exactly what Shu Yan wanted. When Shu Yan opened the small black wooden box, an indescribably sharp sensation pricked at both their minds, accompanied by a cold, uncanny chill. Inside lay an item every soul-guiding device user knew, an engraving knife used for carving core arrays. It was about half a foot long, finger-thick, tapering to a sharp tip and ending in a half-inch blade. The whole thing looked ancient and solemn, dark as if congealed blood stained its surface, etched with faint, eerie patterns. Guyun stood with her hands folded at her waist in a black skirt, dignified and composed, more like a pampered noblewoman than a former shadow guard. "Young lord," she said, "as you asked, I found this engraving knife at an auction held by the Starlight Auction House in Star Luo City. Because of its notorious reputation, no one dared bid on it, so it was easy for us to acquire." She glanced at the knife with a puzzled expression. She couldn't fathom why Shu Yan had sent her to such trouble for a weapon infamous across the continent. At the auction, the attendees had looked on with a kind of resigned regret, as if certain whoever obtained that knife was courting disaster. "This item is very useful to me, Aunt Gu. Don't ask too many questions," Shu Yan replied. He closed the wooden box, sealed it into a specially prepared spirit tool, and then slipped that into his storage device. "Thank you for your trouble. I'll need your help again. Once the Academy officially goes on holiday, prepare to return to Lingdo City with us." Guyun nodded. Then, as if remembering something, she added, "Young lord, after I bought the knife, the Starlight Auction House started asking about my background. What do you think?" "Don't worry about them," Shu Yan interrupted gently. "They probably think whoever owns that knife will meet a bad end and are just checking records in advance." Guyun accepted the answer and moved behind him to massage his shoulders. Tending to Shu Yan had become a habit over the past decade, so natural it seemed part of her. Shu Yan inhaled the familiar, delicate fragrance and didn't hurry away. He simply enjoyed the moment. Dohun District. The arena was a battlefield of spirit tool light. Multicolored rays rained down, explosions thundered, and smoke and dust hung heavy in the air. A figure cut through the chaos as ice, lightning, and poisonous mists lashed around her without ever touching her skin. Then a brilliant golden-red flare burst forth from the cloud of debris. Wu Ming was aflame, her golden crow wings fanned out behind her. 2 incoming spirit tool shells vaporized under the scorching heat. Wu Ming's second spirit ring ignited beneath her feet, and a fierce golden-red firelight expanded outward, bathing the arena. She had activated her second spirit ability, Golden Crow True Fire Burn, augmented by her third spirit ability, Golden Crow True Fire Burst. The instant release of that power produced a series of dense, ear-splitting detonations. When the light faded, several spirit tool barriers shimmered faintly and stood intact. Wu Ming hovered, smirking. "Your shields are tougher than I thought. Come on, let's see how you handle this." She rose again, and this time her pitch-black 5th spirit ring flared to life. A cry split the air as countless droplets of Golden Crow fire fell like rain. A colossal phantom of the Golden Crow manifested behind her, the crushing presence of a 7-ring spirit saint sweeping the arena. The phantom dove and slammed into the fused spirit tool shield, which had swollen to more than twice its original size. A mushroom cloud billowed, silver light flashed. From the center of the blast, Shu Yan burst out, carrying 2 inner courtyard soul guiding device students, both drenched in sweat. Beside him, Han Ruoruo had already reeled back 3 people with her golden rope, saving them from grievous wounds. 5 students collapsed to the ground, pale and shaken. Zhang Lexuan, who had been watching, sighed and then exchanged a few words with the support system teacher before approaching the fallen students. "What do you think?" the teacher asked softly. Zhang Lexuan's face remained composed. "Hard to say. If this is their limit, they're not qualified to take a place among the main Shrek 7 devils. In individual combat and team battles, they can't match the top talents like Dai Yueheng or Ma Xiaotao." Han Ruoruo's sigh held pity. The next Dohun tournament drew nearer. Under Inner Courtyard rules, each current member of the Shrek 7 Devils had to accept challenges from other Inner Courtyard students of similar age and cultivation. The rules sounded fair: attack versus attack, agility versus agility, support versus support, but they were inherently biased against soul-guiding device users. In one-on-one fights, spirit masters of the same rank usually had the upper hand. The true strength of soul-guiding device lay in group combat, often on the battlefield. Shrek Academy's emphasis on spirit masters and the indifference of some high officials had long left soul-guiding device students dissatisfied, but nothing had changed. Earlier that day, Dr. Jian, dean of the soul-guiding device department, had asked Zhang Lexuan, Han Ruoruo, and others for help in a friendly sparring session with the soul-guiding device students. The goal was to train those students and also to measure the gap between them and the Inner Courtyard's top geniuses, how long they could hold out and how large the difference really was. The results were not encouraging. As they stood in discussion, a quiet sigh came from the side. A tall woman stepped forward, about 1.7 meters tall and looking no older than 50. Her skin was fair, her black hair neatly coiled at the nape, and she wore a white robe with gold trim that gave her a sharp, competent air. "Dr. Xian," everyone murmured, surprised. They bowed in unison as she surveyed the scene, first the 5 students being tended, then Zhang Lexuan and the others, before speaking in a calm tone. "Lexuan, thank you for your help today." Zhang Lexuan returned the respect readily. "It's almost holiday time, and we have a bit of free time. It's no trouble, Dr. Xian." Dr. Xian's gaze lingered on Shu Yan, who stood beside Han Ruoruo. "You must be Shu Yan. As Dean Yan described, you're the foremost genius in the Inner Courtyard. Breaking through to the Spirit King realm at such a young age is remarkable. The Martial Soul Department is fortunate to have you." Shu Yan smiled faintly. "Dr. Xian, you flatter me. I was just lucky." Dr. Xian laughed. "If what you've achieved is luck, then perhaps luck itself is drained dry by you." She shifted smoothly to another subject. "With your talent, you should be able to compete for a spot among the main Shrek 7 devils. Your grandfather and your father were both members. I don't suppose you'll be an exception." Shu Yan was non-committal. "Maybe. I'm not particularly interested in the title, but I'll watch the Dohun tournament if I get the chance." Dr. Xian looked mildly surprised but waved it off. "We'll see. Even if you don't want to go, someone will drag you there." Before anyone could reply, she turned and left, decisive and brisk, the very image of efficiency. The onlookers exchanged glances. Zhang Lexuan smiled at Shu Yan. Junior brother Shu Yan, sometimes being too outstanding isn't entirely a blessing. When the inner courtyard has difficult or awkward tasks, Dean Yan and others always think of you first. Shu Yan only shrugged and said nothing more. Lately, the atmosphere in the inner courtyard had been off. By some measures, it wasn't surprising. Whenever there was about a year left before the Douluo tournament, the courtyard always grew tense. The rivalry between the martial soul department and the soul guiding device department tightened. Sometimes disputes even had to be brought before the Sea God Pavilion. The Shrek Seven Devils were the public face of Shrek Academy, and both departments coveted those 7 places. Officially, the Seven Devils Challenge took place half a year before the tournament, but the real contest had begun behind the scenes the moment the last tournament ended. The current 7 were outstanding across the board, yet several of them were under real pressure. Chen Zifeng, Shi Shi, and Ling Luochen, attack, agility attack, and control-type spirit masters, faced many peers in the inner courtyard with similar ages and comparable cultivation levels. Their positions were precarious. Lose once to a challenger, and you lose your seat, though you could re-challenge within the allotted time. That kind of competition pushed both sides forward, so everyone was fiercely invested. Some seats felt secure. Ma Xiaotao had already broken through to Spirit Emperor. Her evil fire phoenix spirit was reckoned the strongest fire spirit below ultimate fire. By the tournament, she might even be approaching Spirit Saint, making her all but unbeatable among the 7 devils, unless Shu Yan himself decided to take part. Dai Yueheng, heir to the White Tiger Duke's mansion in the Star Luo Empire, was a special case. With his background and talent, he was expected to reach Spirit Emperor before the tournament, so his place would be nearly unassailable. Yao Hao Xuan and Gongyang Mo were rare support-type spirit masters. There were few of their kind in the inner courtyard, so their competition was minimal. Gongyang Mo's talent ranked 3rd among the 7, unusually fast for a support system, able to keep pace with the attack types. Unless something went wrong, he would become one of the continent's top support masters. Maybe because of that looming pressure, Ling Luochen and others no longer practiced as casually as before. One by one, they sought extra training with Shu Yan and the others, pushing themselves hard. No one refused. Relationships were still good, and mutual help was natural. It was especially easy when someone like Ling Luochen asked. Training with her was a chance to admire the Ice Beauty's rare different expressions while improving at the same time. Han Ruoro, usually unperturbed, felt oddly hesitant this time. Watching Ling Luochen pester Shu Yan day after day planted a slow, inexplicable sense of unease in her. Ling Luochen was always cold with men in public, but Han couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A woman's intuition is often sharper than she lets on. After watching for a while, Han, though not quick to notice, finally saw what she feared. One evening, the extra training ended. Students left the Douluo district in pairs. Ling Luochen came last, walking alone. It wasn't that anyone shunned her. She preferred solitude and rarely chatted with others, so after a while, everyone stopped trying. Her unsociability dated back to the outer courtyard. Born to nobility and pampered, Ling had grown up severe with a fastidious streak. That fastidiousness, along with other small differences, had alienated her roommates. Ostracized, she became reclusive and cold. Joining the inner courtyard had softened her edges somewhat, but the old habits persisted, and the temperament of her spirit only reinforced the snow princess persona she had become. Shrek Academy sat in a place where spring seemed to linger year-round. Walking the secluded path that evening, seasonal flowers still bloomed, insects chittered, fireflies clustered under the street lamps. Ling Luochen fitted a key into her door. As she crossed the threshold, the lights came on automatically. The living room was spare, gray and white, cool tones, almost clinical in its minimalism. Only a single ice blue flower in a vase offered color. Otherwise, the place might have looked uninhabited. Han Ruoro sat on the white sofa. When Ling entered, her mouth curved in the faintest smile, and she said lightly, "Do you mind if I have a word?" Ling's hand tightened on the doorknob for a second, but she showed no expression. She closed the door, walked to the kitchen, poured a glass of water and placed it before Han, then sat opposite her. Before Han could speak, Ling surprised her by taking the lead. "I know why you wanted to talk," Ling said softly. "I'll be clear, I do have feelings for Shu Yan." Han's hand froze on the glass. A shadow flickered across her features, then she forced herself to sound puzzled. "Junior Ling, you have many admirers across both courtyards. I don't understand. What is it about a Yan that makes you, usually so aloof, take an interest in a man?" Ling was silent for a long moment. Then, as if deciding to strip the matter bare, she answered quietly. "Perhaps you know better than I do what attracts me to him. For me, feeling comes first," she said. "At first, he was just a target, a challenge I wanted to surpass. But the more we interacted, the more I realized he understands me in a way no one else does. He can answer questions I can't solve with what feels like perfect answers. My life for the last 19 years has been too monotonous. Aside from cultivation, there has been little that matters to me." She looked up and met Han's gaze, level and frank. Shu Yan's looks are almost unrivaled in either courtyard, and his talent and intellect are rare in a lifetime. He's close to perfect. I once asked him why he cultivates so diligently. I expected him to say to grow stronger, to be invincible, to seek power or status. He didn't say any of those. What he said was that he cultivates so he can keep everything he likes and cares about close to him. Han stared, slightly open-mouthed. Ling's voice softened. "If I have to live for something, if I must choose a purpose, then I want it to be to pursue the perfection and splendor I hold inside." After those words, the room fell into a long silence. The water in Han's cup sat unmoving. The moon climbed high over the clear sky. Finally, Han sighed, a small, resigned sound. She looked down at Ling and spoke gently, but with a hard edge beneath the politeness. "Perhaps I should have expected this. He is everything beautiful in the world, and I am petty enough to want that whole world for myself. I don't want to share the care and affection I've given him with anyone." "Don't make this a competition you can't win," Han said. "If there's anyone to blame, blame me. I won't give up what I've cultivated." She pushed herself up. "Get some rest. You must be tired." She glided to the door and was gone into the dim pool of streetlight as quickly as she had appeared. Ling picked up the crystal cup and walked to the sink. She poured out the other half of the water, washed the cup, and stood for a long time looking at the running water. The tap's cool, clear flow sounded loud in the otherwise quiet room, making the emptiness feel bigger. Eventually, she turned the tap off and finished cleaning, then went up to her ice-blue bed and lay staring at the hazy night outside the window. She couldn't name what she felt. It was a hollow fullness, a chest-tight ache, as if something had been pressed into her heart. She wanted to cry, to let hot salt run down, but her eyes would not offer tears. The silence remained, and the moon traveled on. Chapter 65, Return to Lingdo, Shu Hong and Shui Lin, aunt and cousin. Under the excited anticipation of countless students, Shrek Academy's month-long vacation finally began. After saying goodbye to their classmates, Shu Yan and Han Ruoro set off for Lingdo City at once, accompanied by Gu Yun and the others. Even the wind seemed sweeter on the way home. Everyone was in high spirits, and their flight felt faster than usual. Once they cleared the Tianling Mountains, an endless plain opened up before them. Blue sky, drifting clouds, fields and rivers, the kind of peaceful scene that breathes life into the soul. Flying northeast for half a day, Lingdu City finally came into view on the horizon. From a distance, it glittered in the evening light like a pearl set into the fertile earth, and an involuntary homesick warmth rose in their chests. "We're finally back," Han Ruoro exhaled softly, looking at the bustling city with obvious emotion. Few people were indifferent to their hometown. On the Douluo Continent, many held the same conviction Shu Yan had learned from elders in his old world. Return to your roots. Where you were born is where you should lay down your life. Shu Yan and Han Ruoro had both grown up in Lingdo City, and family tied them to the place. Lingdo, like other major cities on the continent, forbade unauthorized spirit masters from flying over its airspace. Anyone who broke that law would be liable to the Imperial Investigation Team. But Shu Yan and the others were unconcerned. Shu Yan's grandfather, Shu Hong, had a rank higher than several dukes, and the Han family included a titled Douluo, powers the investigation team would not dare provoke. Favoritism and protection like this were common in high society. Even at Shrek Academy, such things occurred regularly, and Shu Yan and Han Ruo were used to it. Once inside the city, the group split up. Han Ruo had to return to the Han estate. Shu Yan couldn't really follow her just then, but the two family compounds were close enough that it wasn't a pressing matter. Returning to his ancestral manor, everything looked as familiar as memory. Each tree and flower seemed unchanged. The manor's elderly butler led Shu Yan through corridors until they reached the innermost part of the estate. The architecture here had more of a palace feel, an air of history and gravity hanging over it. Maids moved about quietly, as if afraid to make a sound that might displease their masters. Shu Yan entered the main hall. The butler stopped at the doorway and did not follow. A faint scent of sandalwood drifted toward him. He narrowed his eyes, then smiled softly. "Grandpa, Grandma, long time no see." Inside the hall, besides Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan, two elderly people sat waiting. The man Shu Yan called Grandpa had completely white hair, but his face was still only weathered like a man in his 60s. His skin was slightly rough, his countenance stern rather than handsome, and his hawk-like eyes carried a weight of intimidation even in a casual glance. Shu Hong was the opposite of Shu Junyo's gentleness, direct, fierce, a career soldier who did not mince words. Years of military command had made him decisive. When he set his mind on something, he pursued it without compromise. To him, strength was the only truth. The woman Shu Yan called Grandma looked younger than Shu Hong. Though all her hair had gone silver, careful upkeep and her spirit Douluo's cultivation kept her appearing no older than 50 or 60. Her bearing betrayed noble upbringing, elegance, composure, and a reserve of knowledge and experience that time had only refined. As the saying went, if poems and books live in the heart, time cannot diminish beauty. The former dueling emperor had given her the name Shuilin, hoping she would be clever, gentle, and kind, a pearl in the snow. Seeing Shu Yan, Shuilin smiled warmly and beckoned him. "Yan, come here. Let Grandma have a good look at you." Shu Yan went over obediently. She took him in from left to right, fingers checking his build and stance. "Good, good, good," she murmured with satisfaction. "You haven't lost weight these past 6 months, and you've grown taller. The Han family girl has taken good care of you." Shu Yan smiled awkwardly and then looked to Shu Hong. The old man inclined his head slightly. His gaze, though less sharp than usual, still conveyed a faint aura of pressure. "You're back," Shu Hong said simply. "How were the 6 months at Shrek Academy? Did you gain anything?" Shu Yan thought for a moment. "It was good. There are a lot of geniuses and lots of competition, but after being there for a while, it starts to feel normal." Shu Hong was not surprised. He studied his grandson for a long moment. "You've broken through to Spirit King," he said. "That means you can travel the continent with confidence. I've already spoken with Yan Xiaojie. From now on, you don't need to stay at Shrek Academy all the time. Come and go as you please. Only a wider world will make you grow faster. I believe you understand." Shu Yan nodded. "I understand, Grandpa." Shu Hong had little more to add. Like Shu Junyo, he was a man of few words. He had said what needed saying, then lapsed into silent observation while his family chatted. At least he wouldn't spoil the mood by being intrusive. After a pleasant dinner, the three talked with Shuilin for a while longer before everyone retired to their rooms. Shu Yan paused, then caught Yu Bingyan's attention as she prepared to enter Cultivation. She glanced back and scolded in a mock gruff tone. "You brat, what now? Don't bother me while I'm cultivating unless it's important, or you'll pay for it later." Shu Yan's lips twitched. He produced from his storage a special sealed spirit tool and opened it. A cold sensation emanated, and Yu Bingyan's face twisted into disgust. "An engraving knife? Cursed? Why did you bring this here? Do you think you're untouchable?" Shu Yan took the matter seriously. "It's called the spirit-devouring engraving knife. You might have heard of it." Yu Bingyan studied the blade closely. The metal this thing is made from is a priceless treasure. Even a scrap would be enough to trigger a war among top powerhouses. At Shu Yan's earnest look, Yu Bingyan's expression shifted from revulsion to curiosity to concern. She examined the engraving knife more carefully. "You want me to purify the evil intent and curses trapped in this blade?" Shu Yan nodded. I thought you'd be able to, Mom. Yu Bingyan hesitated, a rare break in her usually confident demeanor. Hard to say, she admitted. Whomever ingrained those curses likely had far higher cultivation than me when they were alive, and this thing has probably consumed many owners' souls or grudges over millennia. Its power is extraordinary. She gave a resigned breath and then changed the subject. But it's not impossible. Your aunt will be here in a couple of days. The two of us together should be able to cleanse the evil traces in the engraving knife. Aunt's coming to Lingdo? Shu Yan asked. Not just her. Mengdi will come along too, Yu Bingyan continued offhandedly. And Mengdi probably intends to spar with you. Make time to fight a few rounds with her. Don't hide away with Ro all the time. Shu Yan couldn't help a wry smile. What good would that do? She's a spirit ancestor. What, does she have some masochistic streak now? Yu Bingyan glared at him. How can you talk like that? She's your cousin. You two have no other siblings. You'll have to rely on each other in the future. Mengdi's always doted on you. Whether she can beat you or not isn't the point. It's about attitude. Go easy on her, and help your aunt straighten that girl's temperament while you're at it. Shu Yan clenched his teeth at the memory of Yu Mengdi as a child, relentless teasing, using her age to corner him at every turn. Han Ruoruo had indulged him within limits, but Mengdi had none. It had been, without doubt, the blackest mark on his childhood. Thinking of it, his fists tightened. Chapter 66, The Emperor's Summons night passed quickly. Shu Hong, who had been home for only one night, left early for the military camp. Shui Lin watched her husband's retreating figure and sighed quietly, but she said nothing. In the vast dueling empire, true talent was rare. Decline and complacency were the norm. Shu Hong alone commanded the most elite, powerful force in the realm, already the strongest in the dueling empire's military domain. Other armies existed, but their combat strength was limited and hardly comparable. Compared with Shu Hong's constant busyness, Shu Yan, woken naturally, found himself unusually idle. After becoming accustomed to the high-intensity life of the inner court, sudden leisure left him feeling a little lost. Before he could find something to do, however, things came looking for him. When Shu Junyu finished speaking, Shu Yan was surprised and puzzled at being summoned by his maternal granduncle. An emperor did not summon someone lightly. Even a blood relation mattered little to a ruler concerned with politics. The current dueling emperor was not an ambitious schemer, but cautious and tolerant. With the help of many capable ministers, he had achieved several notable state affairs during his reign. His results might be mediocre, but he was not incompetent. In short, he was a conservative, steady ruler. Shu Junyo gently patted Shu Yan's shoulder. His Majesty has summoned you. Go and see him. Don't worry, there won't be any trouble. Shu Yan nodded, still a little puzzled. Walking through the towering imperial city, Shu Yan felt a small stirring in his chest. Although the dueling empire was young, its palace had been built with extreme luxury and grandeur. The endless palace complexes formed a breathtaking sight. Yet Shu Yan's mind drifted to the original history he had read. The Sun Moon Empire had raised the entire dueling imperial palace with only 2 soul-guiding device legions and a single level 9 fixed-load soul-guiding device shell, nearly wiping out the direct bloodline of the imperial family. And in that version, Shui Leng and Shui Kui chose to believe the Sun Moon Empire's lies and betrayed their homeland. An act so foolish, their minds must have been overcome by lust. An older man with a dour expression led Shu Yan toward the main hall. Shu Yan knew him, the personal guard of the dueling emperor, commander of the hidden guards protecting the imperial family. He was an old, titled Douluo whose spirit was a beast called Ghost Luo Bi, expert at speed, reconnaissance, and assassination. Raised and cultivated by the imperial household from youth, he was utterly loyal to the emperor and to the emperor alone. As they walked, Shu Yan sensed many concealed powerhouses in the shadows. The weakest among them was at the Spirit King realm. Deeper, more obscure auras suggested other hidden guards. This palace truly was a den of dragons and crouching tigers. They stopped at the entrance of the main hall. Ghost Luo Bi paused and stepped aside. His voice was low and rough, like grinding gears. Please, His Majesty has been waiting for a long time. Thank you, Senior, Shu Yan said casually and entered the hall. Inside, the hall was elegantly simple, devoid of excessive ornamentation. Only a massive imperial desk of dark redwood stood out, piled with memorials. Seated behind it, wearing brocade robes and appearing vigorous, was the current dueling emperor, Shui Sheng. "Greetings, Your Majesty," Shu Yan said with a slight bow. This was not his first meeting with his maternal granduncle, so he offered no further formalities. Shui Sheng slowly raised his head. A kindly smile softened his face. He did not look particularly old. "I told you before, no need to call me Your Majesty. You're my sister's grandson. Call me maternal granduncle." "Very well, maternal granduncle," Shu Yan replied, switching his address with tact. Calling him Your Majesty the first time had been out of respect, but he would not be contrary within reason. "I've heard you've shown at Shrek Academy this past year. They even call you the #1 genius in 1,000 years. Tell me, what do you think of that?" Shui Sheng set down the pen he'd been using to review memorials, straightened his slightly stooped back, and fixed his gaze on Shu Yan. Shu Yan paused, then answered frankly, "To be honest, I don't have many thoughts." Shui Sheng was taken aback for a moment, then his smile deepened. "Indeed, the thoughts of a genius are different from ordinary folk. People used to praise and honor grow numb to it. Those lacking self-confidence will spend their lives seeking others' approval. I, too, was once a handsome young man like you, brimming with passion. With your grandfather's help, I did many things that now look foolish, but I do not regret them. Though that time had dark moments, it was the happiest time of my life." A trace of nostalgia flickered in Shui Sheng's eyes. Waves seemed to ripple across his calm gaze for an instant, then vanished. Flowers may bloom again, but a person's youth does not return. The past can be reminiscence, nothing more. Those who live in the past seldom meet a good end. Shu Yan echoed softly, touched by the line. What a good line. Flowers may bloom again, but a person's youth does not return. Surprise lit Shui Sheng's face. He murmured the phrase Shu Yan had quoted and then laughed heartily. "Yan, I truly enjoy our talks. You always give me inspiration and comfort with a few words. If even one of my unfilial descendants had a third of your intelligence, I wouldn't worry so much about the Empire's future." As his warmth faded, Shui Sheng's expression smoothed into composure, though a smile remained. "Perhaps you're wondering why I summoned you on the very day you returned to Lingdo City. I won't hide it. It's to discuss something with you. Your elder sister and the others have likely already hinted at some of it." Shu Yan fell silent for a moment, but his face showed no change. Shui Sheng rose slowly. His body had grown gaunt. The weight of the throne had withered him into an old, hollow man despite his not very advanced years. The brocaded robe hung loose on him. It was clear that, though his spirit remained strong, his body would not hold out for many more years. He stood by the main hall's entrance, watching the sunlight catch on the glazed tiles, and spoke softly. "Times have changed. To the west, the Sun Moon Empire is a sharp sword that always hangs over the Douluo Continent. No one knows when that sword will fall, but everyone knows that when it does, it will bring untold death. You may wonder why I chose you as heir when there are so many direct imperial bloodline heirs. I'll tell you straight." Shui Sheng turned to Shu Yan, fixing him with a steady gaze. "Because I am the emperor. In my heart, the nation comes before personal feelings or what is conventionally called right and wrong. I know your grandfather and father too well. After I'm gone, they will never accept my useless sons. None of the direct imperial family will submit to them. A true dragon will never bow to a lesser dragon. That is pride and dignity born of blood. In short, I'm skipping some troublesome steps that would inevitably happen in the future. This spares both the imperial family and your Shu household needless suffering." He gave a half-mocking smile. "You can also see it as preserving the imperial family's dignity." Shu Yan felt a tangle of emotions he didn't know how to voice. The dueling empire was beyond revival. The old foundations had rotted away. Even if pure flowers bloomed in the dirt, they would be sullied. Shu Yan had no interest in restoring the empire, nor could he become a proper emperor. He knew himself too well. Compared with the common people, he cared more for the things he valued. The choice between the two was no choice at all, but a matter of inevitable consequences. The continent would be unified in time. Resistance was pointless. Still, after a moment he said, "Maybe. Who can know the future? For now, I must focus on spirit power cultivation. Nothing will change that. Shui Sheng sighed. He had seen resistance in Shu Yan's eyes, and he was not surprised. Whoever inherited the ruined empire would be tormented by its problems. Never mind. I only wanted to warn you. You're still young. Cultivate well. Some things can wait until you're older and able. He waved gently and handed Shu Yan a small token engraved with strange patterns. With this token, you may mobilize all the strong cultivators in the imperial family's offering hall, except the high priest. I have one more gift for you. Shu Yan turned the token over in his hand. It was made of some unknown metal. He followed Shui Sheng's gesture toward a huge swan totem behind the imperial desk. Shui Sheng pressed a hidden spot on the totem. With a faint click, the totem split cleanly into 4 parts, and from its center, a faint azure light bloomed. The light spread until it filled the entire main hall. It had a deep, enveloping quality, like the warmth and vastness of an ocean, making the hall seem submerged in seawater. In the center floated a palm-sized, 3-dimensional triangle, entirely transparent and sapphire blue, like a miniature sculpture carved from a single gem. A precious glow lived within it, and strange fluctuations of energy pulsed outward. Looking closely revealed water-like ripples that did not appear etched but alive, circles of azure light flickering across its surface. The whole hall shimmered with a faint, rare brilliance. A cold premonition rose in Shu Yan's chest. The object felt eerily familiar. Before he could place the feeling, Shui Sheng lifted the triangular relic with spirit power and floated it before him. Ayan, our dueling empire was once part of the Heaven Do Empire. Our blood is descended from the original Heaven Do imperial family. 10,000 years ago, my ancestor Shui Beng became a disciple of sea god Tang San. He was master to the first Shrek's 7 devils, and they shared a master-disciple bond. This vast sea cosmic shroud was originally a national treasure of the Heaven Do Empire. Emperor Shui Ye once bestowed it upon Tang San when he was still King Lan Hao. Later, when the sea god ascended, he condensed the former cosmic shroud with his divine force and left it as a gift for Emperor Shui Beng and the Heaven Do imperial family. However, Sea God personally said that this vast sea cosmic shroud had already lost whatever function a divine legacy token once had. In other words, it is a replica in appearance of the true shroud. Even so, it was crafted by a divine, so by theory it ranks as a divine-grade spirit tool, its utility beyond ordinary imagination. When the empire fractured, my ancestors' line carried this treasure east to present-day Lingdo City. It naturally became the dueling empire's national treasure. A Yan, Shui Sheng said quietly. In ancient times, Emperor Shui Ye gave a treasure to sea god Tang San. Today I follow that precedent and present this vast sea cosmic shroud to you, in the hope that one day you might be like the sea god, dispel darkness and light the way for the Douluo Continent. Shu Yan's mind reeled. The world seemed to tilt. He stared at the misty azure triangle, eyes wide, his mouth twitching against the urge to laugh or cry. Everything about the moment felt unreal, as if reality had shifted too far. For a long, stunned beat, he could only stand there, lost, watching the light ripple across that impossible object. Chapter 68, The Path to Death. The legendary beat-resistant King Hui Sheng watched Shu Yan in silence for a long moment, then spoke softly. You don't need to feel burdened. Sea God left it behind precisely to wait for someone destined to receive it. I have a feeling the person Sea God was waiting for is you. Shu Yan stayed quiet. He didn't believe in fate. To him, talk of destiny often sounded like a path to death. After a pause, he said carefully, Granduncle, since Sea God entrusted it to the former Heaven Do imperial family to be passed down through generations, the divine artifact must carry Sea God's hopes for the empire's future. Its significance is too great. I truly feel unworthy to receive it. Shui Sheng sighed, as if recalling old memories. Its significance? That reminds me of something. Back with the former Heaven Do imperial family, there was a rumor that a trace of Sea God's divine thought remained in the vast sea cosmic shroud. It was actually confirmed. That was during the Sun-Moon Empire's invasion. The dueling emperor followed the methods handed down by his ancestors, poured his mental force into the vast sea cosmic shroud, and awakened Sea God's residual divine thought. It was under the guidance of that leftover divine thought that the three great empires chose to unify their forces and place them under the command of the Shrek Academy Dean of that generation. Under his direction, they defeated the Sun Moon Empire, forcing them to cede territory and pay reparations. But after that, Sea God's divine thought seemed to vanish completely and never reappeared. Later, several Sea God Pavilion masters from Shrek Academy petitioned the Empire to closely observe the vast sea cosmic shroud. They all reached the same conclusion, that trace of Sea God's divine thought had either dissipated or departed on its own. Now the vast sea cosmic shroud is merely a very high-grade spirit tool. In the eyes of many, the reason Sea God left that divine thought was foresight. He anticipated the Sun Moon Empire's invasion and left his divine thought to help the three Douluo empires through the crisis. Shui Sheng extended a withered hand, patted Shu Yan's shoulder gently, and then pressed the vast sea cosmic shroud into Shu Yan's arms. Take it. Treasures find worthy masters, Yan. I think you are not only dueling's hope, but the hope of the three empires when they contend with the Sun Moon Empire in the future. No matter what, you must keep the vast sea cosmic shroud. Shu Yan considered for a moment, then bowed slightly and said, "Then I will accept it respectfully." A smile finally appeared on Shui Sheng's face. He waved his hand, and the disassembled swan totem slowly reformed. Perhaps no one had imagined the dueling empire's national treasure would be hidden behind the emperor's desk where state affairs were handled, an ironic but effective hiding place, safer than the national treasury. When Shu Yan sealed the vast sea cosmic shroud into his storage spirit tool, the faint blue light that had bathed the main hall receded, and everything around them returned to normal. Shui Sheng returned to his throne and chatted with Shu Yan about many things until dusk, then finally let him leave the palace. Ghost Bee Douluo still stood like a withered tree by the main hall's entrance. When Shu Yan passed, their eyes met. The creature's vacant, lifeless gaze made Shu Yan curious. This one clearly had many stories, yet with his temperament, he would probably never share them. From its position, silence and stillness seemed fitting. Back home, under Yu Bingyan's persistent questioning, Shu Yan recounted everything that had happened that day. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan were surprised. Nobody had expected Shui Sheng to give away the national treasure so readily. Shui Lin only snorted and said, "If he gave it, Yan, then keep it, and don't worry. My imperial brother isn't a man of great wisdom, but he's very cunning. If it weren't for certain past events, the person occupying that seat now wouldn't be him." It was clear Shui Lin still nursed resentment from old affairs. Shu Yan, sensible as ever, didn't press. He could see how the memories still darkened his grandmother's brow. Those events had left deep scars. Yu Bingyan poured tea for Shui Lin with a chuckle and a gentle smile. In front of others, she was spirited, but with Shui Lin, she always softened into a little wife's tenderness. "Mom, don't be angry. Have some tea and calm down. What's ours will remain ours. When Yan grows stronger, even the Sun Moon Empire will have to think twice before starting a war." As a mother, Yu Bingyan's confidence in Shu Yan was absolute. Shu Junyo and Shu Yan exchanged a look and said nothing more. 2 days later, Shu Yan's aunt Yu Ningyi and cousin Yu Mengdi arrived in Lingdo City, looking travel-worn. Yu Ningyi was 2 years younger than Yu Bingyan. Though sisters, their temperaments were complete opposites. Where Yu Bingyan's beauty was noble and aloof, Yu Ningyi was gentle and considerate, more like Han Ruoro, with a scholarly air that made a fine first impression. Yu Mengdi, however, was a problem child, spoiled, combative, petty, and jealous. At 18, she was in the prime of youth, radiant and full of vitality. Her delicate, charming face had lost the awkwardness of childhood, and in looks, she was only slightly less beautiful than the outer courtyard's top beauty at Shrek Academy. Before Shu Yan could greet his aunt, Yu Mengdi grabbed him and dragged him toward the manor's training ground. Shu Yan struggled free of her grab and complained, "Cousin, all you can think about is fighting? We just met. Why fight right away?" Yu Mengdi snorted, indignant. "I came here to fight. If I didn't want to spar, why would I travel all the way to Lingdo City? Shu Yan, has Shrek Academy turned your brain to mush?" "Mengdi, don't be willful," Yu Ningyi said helplessly, then offered Shu Yan an apologetic look. "Yan, my daughter's always been like this. No matter how much her father and I scold her over the years, she never changes. Don't mind her. If she bothers you, come to me. I'll teach her a lesson. Yu Mengdi shot Shu Yan a glare and pouted. Mom, why do you always take that stinky boy's side? I'm your biological daughter. Yu Ningyi pulled Shu Yan to her side, ruffled his hair, and glanced at Yu Mengdi with mock regret. With a girl like you, I feel like I'll live 20 years less. Tell me, how much trouble have you caused since you were little? How much time and effort have I spent on you? Look at Yan. He's behaved so well since he was young, never causing the family any trouble, and now he's Shrek's top genius. If you were half as outstanding, I wouldn't say anything. Yu Mengdi stamped her foot in embarrassment, her face flushing. Yu Ningyi ignored her and led Shu Yan toward the main hall. Yu Bingyan chuckled and pinched Yu Mengdi's cheek. Little one, you're getting prettier every day. Don't be upset. Later, I'll have Yan take you to the training ground for a proper fight. Yu Mengdi threw her arms around Yu Bingyan and breathed a contented sigh, smiling. Auntie, you're the best. My mom just nags all day. Yu Bingyan poked Yu Mengdi's forehead with a finger. Your mother nags because she cares. Don't always go against her. When she really gets angry, even I wouldn't intervene easily. You're like a newborn calf with no fear of tigers. Yu Mengdi snorted and dismissed the warning. In their family, Yu Ningyi was gentle and rarely punished her daughter harshly, but when emotions reached a breaking point, she could be ruthless. Yu Mengdi had roamed Zhengtian Academy for years, causing trouble and taking her share of beatings. For her, getting thrashed was routine. Her title of legendary beat-resistant king was earned, not made up. Chapter 69, Purple is Very Charming Manor Training Ground. Shu Yan leaned against a tree trunk and watched Yu Mengdi sprawled on the ground, bruised and swollen. He said with a hint of admiration, My dear cousin, this is the 7th time, and you haven't even brushed my sleeve. If you really can't do it, just give up. Why keep torturing yourself? Yu Mengdi pushed herself up into a sitting position, clenched her small fists, ground her teeth, and replied, Again, what storms hasn't your cousin seen? This little tempering is nothing, just a bit of wind and frost. Shu Yan looked at her in surprise. He hadn't expected to hear lines that sounded like something from the immortal venerable of the Douluo Continent. Amused by her stubbornness, he intensified his attacks. Yu Mengdi kept retreating. Even her sacred twin swords were broken, one after another. It wasn't until her spirit power ran dry and her spirit collapsed that she fell from midair, only to be caught by a steady golden rope. Mengdi, you're still so combative, a soft voice said. The golden rope delivered Yu Mengdi safely to the ground, then dissolved into a stream of gold that vanished. A purple-clad figure appeared in its place. In the 2 days since she had returned, Han Roro's style had changed. She looked suddenly more mature and alluring. The purple dress she wore was form-fitting and hip-hugging, a style she had never tried before. The scholarly aura she usually carried was gone, replaced by a composed, feminine charm. Yu Mengdi's eyes widened. After a hesitation, she asked, Roro Jie? Han Roro nodded, helped Yu Mengdi to her feet, and poured a little pure spirit power into her. It's me, she said. Shu Yan and I returned to Lingdo City 2 days ago. I've been handling some things, so I couldn't come find you right away. Today, I had some time. I went to Auntie's place first and didn't find anyone, and the butler said you were at the training ground, so I came to check. Yu Mengdi reluctantly tore her gaze away from Han Roro's face and figure and said sourly, Roro Jie, you've really benefited that kid Shu Yan. Han Roro laughed lightly, unconcerned. Her change in style came from her mother. Lady Han of the Han family was the most skilled dresser in Lingdo City's high society, with countless luxury garments and jewelry. Under her guidance, Han Roro had inevitably been influenced. As the old saying goes, a woman will dress to please the one she loves. She had wanted to show a different, more beautiful side of herself to Shu Yan, and it clearly worked. Shu Yan's expression carried a trace of admiration. Purple really did suit her. Yu Mengdi had lived in Lingdo City for a long time when she was young and had grown up around Han Roro, keeping the proper mix of respect and affection for the older girl who had watched her grow. Han Roro's own charisma helped. A quasi-spirit Douluo under 30 is an astonishing talent anywhere. Her potential was obvious. She was almost certain to become a super Douluo one day. A super Douluo with a top-tier control system spirit is among the continent's highest-ranked powerhouses. This era was not the one where limit Douluo and title Douluo were commonplace. A super Douluo still commanded enormous value. After catching up for a while, Yu Mengdi's soreness grew too intense. She forced a smile, limped away from the training ground, and, with occasional sharp hisses, made it clear that Shu Yan's special training would require 2 days of rest. When Yu Mengdi left, Shu Yan took Han Ruoro's hand. They slipped down a little path behind the training ground and soon arrived at a secluded flower garden. The air here was fresh and thick with floral scents. The quiet, natural setting was perfect for a private moment. Han Ruoro sat on the soft grass and let Shu Yan rest his head in her lap. After a moment of calm, Shu Yan asked, "Any progress on the spirit hunting plan?" Han Ruoro hummed and let her fingertips trace his face. "This time, we're not going to the Stardew Great Forest," she said. "What happened there taught us a lesson. At least for now, we can't go back." Shu Yan looked surprised. "Then where are we going?" "Aside from the Stardew Great Forest, are you thinking of hunting sea spirit beasts, Rorojie?" She shook her head, produced an extremely detailed map of the dueling empire from her spirit tool, and pointed to an area north of the Tianling Mountains. North of the Tianling Mountains, near the extreme Northland. It's always been desolate. Its area is almost 3/4 the size of Tianhe Province, making it the largest wilderness in our dueling empire. Although there aren't as many spirit beasts there as in the Stardew Great Forest, the harsh environment breeds higher quality ones. The northern region is sparsely populated. Spirit masters haven't developed it in the past 10,000 years, so it feels even more mysterious than the Stardew Great Forest. She paused, then continued. Every year countless teams head into the Stardew Great Forest to hunt, so except for the innermost core and the most dangerous spots, we've mapped most of it. But the area I pointed to has almost no useful records at all. If we go, we'll have to rely entirely on ourselves. Shu Yan murmured in agreement. He had a sense of the place Han Ruoro described. The more severe the environment, the tougher and more formidable the creatures it produced. Humans were no different. Greenhouses raised delicate flowers, but to grow into an ancient, towering tree, one must endure the grind of time and hardship. Chapter 70, Purification. Spirit of Life's Gold Night had fallen. In a hidden chamber of the manor, Yu Bingyan pulled Yu Ningyi inside. Shu Yan, who had been waiting quietly, rose and produced the special sealed spirit tool that held the spirit-devouring engraving knife. When he released the seal, a cold, oppressive weight descended over the room. Though Yu Bingyan had warned her, Yu Ningyi still felt a shiver of surprise. "What a spirit-devouring engraving knife," she murmured. "No wonder you were uneasy, elder sister. The evil thoughts and curses in it really are terrifying." Yu Bingyan nodded. "That's exactly why I didn't want to handle it alone. I called you to help." Yu Ningyi smiled softly. "It's been a long time since we two worked together." "Isn't this the perfect opportunity?" Yu Bingyan replied. The sisters shared an easy look of understanding, no less natural than the rapport between Shu Yan and Han Ruoro. Both sisters manifested angelic wings and a holy light aura, but their spirit power levels were more than 10 levels apart. Long ago, they had been cut from the same cloth. Now, because of cultivation resources and other practical realities, a wide gap had opened between them. Yu Ningyi felt a flash of envy at her elder sister's far stronger foundation, but it only strengthened her determination. Golden light filled the secret room. Two angelic phantoms stood opposite each other as countless specks of golden radiance condensed, then flowed like wisps into the spirit-devouring engraving knife, which trembled within the holy light. For a moment, the blade only quivered, but then its trembling intensified. A violent cyan light burst from the metal, accompanied by a malignant, seething energy. The light and malice coalesced into a hideous face that hung in midair, roaring and struggling without making a sound, radiating pure anger and hatred. Yu Bingyan and Yu Ningyi snorted in unison. They clasped hands, and an even denser surge of holy light erupted from them. The angelic phantoms behind them gleamed fully golden. As their original angelic essences merged, the combined aura became stronger than that of an ordinary titled Douluo. Angelic spirit power is fundamentally pure, holy light. Its most terrifying power is purification and dissolution. Any evil force meeting it will be suppressed. That is why Holy Light spirit users have always been the scourge of evil soul masters. Under the pressure of Holy Light, black chi began to evaporate in thin wisps and disappear. The monstrous face in the air blurred, its ferocity melting into fear. The cyan halo around the blade softened and clarified. One by one, the last threads of corruption seeped into the holy light and vanished. The knife's frantic shaking slowed and stopped. The cyan glow that remained was calm as still water, bereft of impurity. The blade itself, once pitch black, took on the appearance of cyan crystal. When they were sure every taint and curse had been purged, the golden radiance surrounding Yu Bingyan and Yu Ningyi slowly withdrew, and the great ocean of spirit power that had filled the chamber dissipated. Good thing angelic spirit power naturally suppresses this kind of evil, Yu Bingyan said, clapping once. Otherwise, it would have been much harder to purify. Even so, the purification had carried real risk. Shu Yan watched them with a sober expression as the sisters relaxed. Yu Ningyi, curious, turned to him. Yan, what exactly is this thing that worried you so much? She asked. Shu Yan stepped forward and gathered the spirit-devouring engraving knife in his hand. A warm sensation spread through him. He smiled faintly. It's a supreme treasure, but few even know of its existence, and fewer still know how to use it. I only discovered it by chance in a fragment of an ancient book in the Shrek Academy Inner Court Library. Its name is Spirit of Life's Gold. Spirit of Life's Gold? Yu Ningyi repeated, puzzled. Think of it this way, Shu Yan said. The Spirit of Life's Gold is a supreme life attribute treasure containing an enormous, terrifying reservoir of life energy. Life energy benefits most living things immensely, he continued. That is precisely why I was so concerned. Life energy is easy to corrupt and even easier to weaponize. If someone injects evil thoughts and curses into a life attribute artifact, they've combined the most alluring power with the most dangerous corruption. It can tempt and infect anyone who comes near. Yu Bingyan and Yu Ningyi exchanged a look of alarm and comprehension. So the man who sealed those curses into the Spirit of Life's Gold was bold, Yu Bingyan said. I can't believe he even thought of that. Shu Yan's face remained grave. In any case, we've cleaned it for now. The rest is up to you. My aunt and I have other matters to attend to, so we won't stay. Yu Bingyan took a step back. Be careful. Don't take unnecessary risks by yourself. Yu Ningyi's lips curved into a teasing smile. You're so interested in this thing, Yan. Don't forget, when you study it thoroughly, Aunt expects a share of the soup when you eat the meat. After all, your aunt helped. Shu Yan chuckled. Don't worry, Aunt. There will definitely be a share for you. He watched the two sisters leave together, golden light receding from them like a memory, then turned his attention back to the now purified blade in his hand. The Spirit of Life's Gold lay silent and calm, but its presence and the way it had been used gave him no comfort. After Yu Bingyan and her sister left, the heavy door of the secret chamber swung shut and locked itself. Shu Yan felt the warm, smooth weight in his palm, and the corners of his mouth lifted. A teardrop-sized bead of Spirit of Life Gold contained the life force equivalent of a million-year-old Tianmeng iceworm. How terrifying was that? And the spirit-devouring engraving knife in his hand. No, it should be called the Blade of Life, had been forged entirely from that Spirit of Life Gold. Its preciousness even eclipsed the dragon crystal he carried, formed from the remains of a deceased dark element true dragon. Dragon crystals were valuable, but in this age their uses were narrow. Spirit of Life Gold, by contrast, applied to a far wider range of people and situations. It was the supreme treasure for life attribute spirit masters, enough to open the way to becoming a limit Douluo. Integrated into a sea of spirit, it offered unimaginable life-saving power. If he assimilated it, Shu Yan's Sea of Spirit could become effectively indestructible. Even if his body were destroyed, as long as his brain remained, he could eventually heal. He could become, for all intents and purposes, immortal. Lost in thought, Shu Yan felt the bead of Spirit of Life Gold pulse and then spill a new burst of green radiance, vital energy that felt distinctly alive. Is this life feedback? He murmured. Surprise and joy flared in his eyes. He sat cross-legged without hesitation, letting the green light resolve into countless cyan gold motes that flowed into him. One ordinary life is one life. A fragment of spirit of life gold represented a world. Inside the bead, he could sense a faint emotion, joy or perhaps gratitude. The gold itself seemed like a living thing, harboring human-like feelings. A rich, vigorous life force surged through Shu Yan, filling his limbs, bones, and even the most recessed channels. He groaned with comfort, as if every cell were rejoicing, absorbing wave after wave of vitality. A green glow suffused him from within. His consciousness blurred. With his last tether of awareness, he sealed the chamber and surrendered to deep meditation. When he woke, Shu Yan had no way of telling how much time had passed. He emerged from the fog gradually and stared in astonishment. His sea of spirit had expanded more than threefold. The mental space that had once hung between illusion and reality had solidified into something tangible. If his former sea of spirit had been merely stable, his current one was impregnable. He had the instinct that even a spirit Douluo with strong mental attributes would struggle to breach it. His mental force had leapt forward, moving far into the realm of the tangible yet formless. More surprises followed. Looking inward, he heard his blood like a rushing brook. His chi and blood radiated an unprecedented vitality. Bones, muscles, meridians, organs, each was coated with a strange green sheen that was merging into him and then fading into a new normal. This was a true rebirth, a new life taking root. Shu Yan clenched his fist and punched down without thinking. The iron-hard floor began to crack, fissures spidering outward. Even within 100 meters, the ground shuddered, as if a small quake had passed through. This strength, Shu Yan breathed, astonished. As a true dragon spirit master, he had always been naturally strong. After years of training, he was like a humanoid tyrant. But this newfound power made him feel as though he could dominate 3 of his former selves at once. While he stood there, a green light rose from his sea of spirit, identical in hue to the glow suffusing his body. It was soft and sacred, like something drawn directly from his heart. At its center was an unfamiliar consciousness. "Do not be afraid. I mean you no harm." The voice spoke before he could. As the light shifted to brilliant cyan gold, it spread through the sea of spirit and gradually merged into his spiritual origin. "My main body has completely fused with your being. In a sense, you are both my master and my creator. I will do nothing to harm you." As the cyan gold settled, a shimmering gate opened above his sea of spirit, and countless drops of cyan green water poured through, pooling into a small lake at the sea's center. "You are a consciousness born from the spirit of life gold itself?" Shu Yan asked, incredulous. "Precisely," came the gentle reply. Shu Yan felt his astonishment deepen. On the Douluo Continent, animals and plants bore life, and minerals and metals, once refined enough, could develop a life aura. In the extreme north, ice extreme divine crystals had given birth to ice spirits, unique forms of life. But among metals, spirit of life gold was exceptional. Other metals evolved toward life. Spirit of life gold was like the incarnation of a world's life essence. One living being equaled one life. A piece of spirit of life gold equaled a world. Ordinarily, the spirit of life gold could only germinate a basic consciousness, a seed that remained limited no matter how many years passed. And yet this particular bead's soul had leaped beyond that seed stage. It now possessed an independent soul capable of learning and evolving, nearly human or spirit beast in its sentience. Shu Yan could feel the purity and serenity of its soul origin, something that awakened a protective, parental instinct in him. Sensing his reaction, the voice continued and answered the questions in his expression. "By the rules of this world, my main body should not produce a full consciousness. My soul was meant to remain a seed, limited and undeveloped. Life has no true hierarchy. Its difference is wisdom. Earlier, when Master's kin removed the parasite of wicked thought and curse within my origin, I reacted with instinctive emotions, joy, gratitude. The life feedback you felt was my seed's response. During that change, a seed of spirit hidden in Master's sea of spirit called to me. I could not resist. Under its guidance, I completed a fusion with you, Master. This is the reward I received." Shu Yan's frown deepened. He picked out the key points and probed further. "What seed of spirit? Explain it." The life voice was silent a moment, then went on. "It seems you do not understand the secrets in your own sea of spirit, which is understandable. That seed of spirit is of an extremely high level. It has lain hidden inside your spiritual origin. Unless stimulated by an outside force, it will not awaken or manifest. Naturally, you would not know. During my transformation, I felt a power within it that did not seem of this world. It is mysterious and powerful, and likely connected to Master's past. A strange chill ran through Shu Yan. The hint of something tied to his past caused his thoughts to whirl. He fell quiet, considering, and then asked the question that had been burning in him. How can I be sure you have no ulterior motives? Almost at once, the life spoke. My main body has fused with you. The vast life energy I carry is now stored within your sea of spirit. My soul and wisdom were reborn through you. If you pay attention, you can feel the soul contract between us. I have no intention to betray you. My purposes will align with yours. Simple loyalty is what I will offer. Shu Yan absorbed this. He had asked to probe, but the gentleness and purity he'd sensed in the life soul had already eroded most of his suspicion. A life born because of him would instinctively feel a bond like that toward a parent, combined with a soul contract that made loyalty all but assured. He smiled softly. If that is so, then I welcome you, he said. A note of joy rippled through the sea of spirit. They exchanged a few further words, enough for Shu Yan to understand the new self within him. Then a mental transmission from Shu Junyo reached him, and he realized how much time had passed. As he prepared to leave the secret chamber, the life's gentle voice spoke once more. Master, your mother and aunt removed the hidden dangers in my body. By your human custom, I owe them a debt. If possible, I would like to repay them. Shu Yan paused, then smiled and nodded. He did not need to ask how. The gratitude in the life's voice was plain. He agreed without further words. Chapter 72, The Northern Barren Lands. The heavy door opened slowly. After an unknown stretch of time, Shu Yan drew in fresh air and let out a long, hoarse breath. The distant blue sky felt oddly unfamiliar. Not far off, Shu Junyo, Yu Bingyan, Han Ruro, Yu Ningyi, and the others were all gathered, an astonishing sight. When Shu Yan stepped out, Yu Bingyan was the first to hurry forward, concern written on her face. You brat, what's been going on? You've been in seclusion so long and didn't even tell us. Under the scrutiny of worried and curious eyes, Shu Yan gave an apologetic smile. I had some insights and entered an epiphany state. I really didn't have time to leave a message. Sorry for making everyone worry. An epiphany. Yu Mengdi, standing behind the others, suddenly pricked up at the news. Her expression shifted from concern to a mix of envy and resentment. Epiphanies are opportunities every spirit master covets, rare moments that not only increase spirit power, but, more importantly, sharpen one's mental state. Because the gains are so certain, an epiphany usually lasts at least 3 days. Shu Yan's prolonged seclusion was therefore unusual. Seeing him safe and even stronger in aura, everyone's fears eased. Shu Yan scanned the group and somewhat sheepishly asked, Can someone tell me how long I've been in seclusion? The way you're all looking at me, I feel like I've been gone for months. They all laughed softly. Finally, Han Roro stepped forward and said quietly, From the day you went in, it's been about 11 days. Not too long. 11 days. Shu Yan nodded, a wave of emotion passing through him. Shrek Academy's vacation was only a month long. His fusion with the essence of life had taken nearly half of it. After this, he'd have to help Han Roro hunt for a spirit ring, leaving almost no free time. All right, everyone, disperse. He's fine. Don't worry. Yu Bingyan waved the others away. The punch Shu Yan had thrown earlier had been loud enough to draw attention, and since many present were high-ranked spirit masters, they'd naturally sensed an anomaly. Now that there was no emergency, everyone returned to their own business, while Han Roro naturally stayed behind. At a stone table by the lake, Shu Yan and Han Roro sat in low conversation, the setting so intimate no one else could fit in. Shu Yan sounded apologetic. Roro, my seclusion delayed your spirit ring hunt. Han Roro shook her head gently. I was uneasy until I saw you come out safely. Under those circumstances, going to hunt would have been foolish. Absorbing a spirit ring needs a calm mind. If I'd found a suitable spirit beast while I was unsettled, trying to absorb the ring could have gone wrong and caused more harm than good. Shu Yan smiled, admiring her level-headedness. Many spirit masters, right after a breakthrough, rush to hunt for a spirit ring. Waiting even a single day feels unbearable. He understood that impulse, but he didn't recommend it. Charging into a spirit beast gathering without proper preparation is courting death, unless you have a titled Douluo or a super Douluo with you. "We'll leave tomorrow," Shu Yan said. "You and the others have had time to prepare. If luck's with us, we'll be back in at most half a month." Hanroro agreed almost immediately. Shu Yan's plan matched hers perfectly. The night passed quickly. At dawn, they rose and flew north. The party wasn't large, but it included 2 titled Douluo. Elder Han accompanied them because his granddaughter was about to obtain her 8th spirit ring. Shu Junyo and his wife came to show their support for their future daughter-in-law. With Han Feng, the Han family head, and another spirit Douluo from the Han family, the group was complete. Elder Han was more than 10 years older than Shu Hong, yet his spirit power remained stuck at rank 92. It was said he had damaged his origin foundation, obtaining his 9th spirit ring. Even with treatment from the Ye family, the injury had lasting effects. Given his talent, had it not been for that accident, he might have advanced further. Elder Han was also one of the few in his family who didn't take to Shu Yan, partly because Shu Hong had always overshadowed him, even when they were young. The 2 elder men had been rivals and friends for nearly a century. Despite the friction, their bond was deep. And when the Shu family went hunting a 10,000-year spirit beast in the ocean, Elder Han had been among the first to help. The farther north they flew, the colder it grew. The northernmost reaches of the barren land already fell within the extreme north. Harsh, extreme environments overlapped here, far sterner than even the vast Stardew Great Forest. They traveled fast and reached the outer edge of the barren land within a day. The once beautiful Tianling Mountains had been transformed. As far as the eye could see, only low shrubs clung to the slopes. The harsh climate had leached the color from them. Most were dull blacks and browns. Coupled with the perpetually overcast sky, the landscape felt oppressively bleak. Even seasoned Elder Han couldn't help but sigh. This was a place that bred monsters, and he suspected this trip would not disappoint. Chapter 73: Covert Surveillance. A fierce wind came down from the valley, bringing with it a sickly stench of rotting plants and carrion. The ridged rocks were as sharp as knives, and in countless dark crevices pairs of blood-red eyes opened and fixed on the group as they flew past. Being so close to the extreme north land, the temperature was bitter and the weather barely changed all year round, harsher even than the damp chill of Qinghai City. After pushing about an hour and a half into that desolate region, they ran into their first spirit beast with a cultivation age over 30,000 years. It was a giant spider, all earth yellow in color. The moment it sensed them, it lifted its head and hissed. The ground around it cracked and earthen spikes shot up like spears. Before any of them reached the group, though, they were sliced apart by a streak of divine sword ki. Golden Armored Spider King, cultivation roughly 37,000 years, Hanruoro said quickly. She had studied spirit beast types for as long as she could remember and identified it at a glance. She felt a pang of regret. The Golden Armored Spider King was a rare earth and gold dual-attribute spirit beast. Among spider types, it could rival top ranks like the Death Spider King. Their strength simply lay in different areas. The Death Spider King excelled at stealth and poisons, while the Golden Armored Spider King boasted an almost impregnable physique and a variety of powerful control-type spirit abilities. Had its cultivation been higher, it would likely have been one of the beasts Hanruo would have marked. Who knew? Perhaps one day fortune would smile on it. After 2 titled Douluos let off a trace of their chi to intimidate the spider, the group continued onward, following a relic of glaciation deeper into the wastes. Shu Yan, in the center of the formation, had been uncharacteristically quiet. Ever since they'd entered the desolate land, he'd felt a prickling unease, as if something were watching them from the shadows. Whenever he tried to focus and pinpoint it, the sensation vanished. He'd had this same cold, prickling impression before, when Xuanzi had tested him outside the Sea God Pavilion, but that had been only a test, with no killing intent. This felt different. It chilled his spine. The farther they went, the stronger the feeling grew. There wasn't much time to dwell on it, however. Powerful spirit beasts kept appearing, forcing them to stay alert. Han Ruoruo, who had been carefully scanning their surroundings, noticed Shu Yan's abnormality and glided over to him. She asked softly, "Yan, you don't look right. Did you notice something?" Shu Yan nodded slightly and lowered his voice. "Ruo, have you noticed that the powerful spirit beasts we've met are behaving strangely? For example, that 80,000-year dark-winged Tiger King we met earlier. It carries part of the dark demonic evil god tiger bloodline, a natural killing force. Yet it only made a few tentative attacks, then fled. It felt like it was deliberately driving us deeper. Most of the other beasts have acted the same way. It doesn't make any sense." Han Ruoruo took his arm and frowned. "You're right." Before she could say more, Shu Junyo, who had been watching the team's condition, spoke up, his tone unusually serious. "Something's off today. For safety's sake, we should leave this area. According to the map, there's a river formed by glacial melt less than 30 kilometers ahead. Cross that and push a little further and we'll reach human territory. Once we're there, we'll be basically safe." Elder Han stroked his beard with worry etched into his aged face. "This place gives me the creeps. I've taken part in dozens of spirit hunts in my life and seen all sorts of strange things, but this feeling is different. Still, the quality of the beasts here is excellent. I have a hunch there's one here that would suit you, Ruo." Shu Junyo looked up at the darkening sky without expression. "Don't dawdle. If we keep moving slowly like this, we'll be hard-pressed to leave before nightfall." Everyone nodded and sped up toward the rapidly gathering storm clouds. The glacial melt from the extreme northland converged into a broad river. Even from a distance, the thunderous roar of the current was clear. The river ran swift and terrifyingly deep. After they crossed it, Shu Yan's unease eased considerably. The oppressive feeling that had trailed them seemed to loosen, and everyone felt a collective lightening of mood as they made for the little town marked on their map. Shu Junyu glanced back at the dark wastes they were leaving behind. "We don't know exactly what's been targeting us, but whatever it is must be powerful. It's likely been watching us since we first set foot in this area." Yu Bingyan's brow creased as she stared at the darkness. "It's odd. Our spirit master only began developing this region after the last beast tide, but from what we've learned, there were strong hunters who entered before and returned safely. Whatever is after us, it feels like it's being drawn specifically by someone in our party. It hasn't struck, but it won't let us go. We're just unlucky this time." Elder Han exhaled softly. "Spirit hunting is always like this. Plans rarely survive contact with reality. We're already fortunate that nothing worse has shown up." Han Roro's face showed little more than calm acceptance. She'd seen this sort of thing before. She was only mildly disappointed. "It's late, and we've been on alert all day. Let's go into that town and rest for a night. We'll see how things look in the morning." Shu Yan added, "Besides me, the lowest spirit rank in the group is Han Ruoro at a quasi-Douluo rank of 80. The Han family's Douluo's rank is 87, the same as Yu Bingyan's. But after a day like today, everyone's spirit power and energy are drained. We need a proper rest." As for Shu Yan himself, he didn't feel tired at all. Since he'd completely fused with the spirit of life's gold, the endless life energy of that spirit nourished him constantly. His recovery of spirit power and energy now outpaced his consumption. In a way, he felt like a perpetual motion machine, and absurdly, like a destined drudge of fate. Chapter 74, Secret Gaze. Border towns were always backward and desolate. Everyone arrived by about 8 in the evening, but the streets were already empty. Only the dim signs of 2 inns pierced the darkness. Apart from those, only a tavern in the center of town burned bright, and occasional loud voices drifted out. Built on the edge of barren land, this place wasn't just an ordinary village. It was a way station for spirit hunting teams to rest and resupply. Spirit hunting towns like this dotted the continent near spirit beast gathering grounds, but this one was the most forlorn any of them had seen. After confirming the situation, everyone checked in to whichever inn they could find. Shu Junyo and Yu Bingyan shared a room. Elder Han and the spirit Douluo each took their own. There was no extra room for Shu Yan and Han Ruruo, so under Grandpa Han's murderous glare, they ended up sharing one. Neither of them minded. At least both parties were willing. The full moon hung high, its soft light cutting through the dark and draping the wild landscape in a less threatening veil. The inn's facilities were meager. Hanruoro wasn't especially fastidious, but as a woman she preferred cleanliness, so she didn't change into pajamas, she just slept in her clothes. It also kept Shu Yan's wandering hand, which sometimes seemed to have its own automatic navigation, from straying at night. Shu Yan pretended to mourn this loss, but he was patient. There was plenty of time. She was already his in the larger sense, so whether he had her sooner or later made no real difference. Seeing Hanruoro lounging, too lazy to move, Shu Yan playfully slipped off her shoes and socks. The cool air on her feet startled her, and she snatched them back under the covers. "What are you doing? You haven't washed all day. You might be dirty. Do you really expect me to like that?" she said, half indignant. Shu Yan looked baffled. "Ruoro Jie, you're overthinking it. I just saw your shoes were still on and wanted to help you get comfortable." "Do you think I'm that kind of person, only here to flirt?" she shot back, then sighed in mock pain, as if wounded by his accusation. Hanruoro eyed him for a moment before saying awkwardly, "I misunderstood you, Eyan." Shu Yan lifted the quilt and burrowed into the fragrant bedding that Hanruoro's presence had made warm. She was sensible and cuddled back into his arms. After a pause, she tipped up her head and pressed a quick kiss to his cheek. "That's my compensation, Eyan. Now rest, no more talking." She buried her face in his shoulder. Shu Yan felt her soft, slightly damp kiss on his cheek and smiled quietly. In that instant, she was unbearably cute. Night deepened, and the town fell utterly silent except for the wind's occasional whistle. Shu Yan woke from a half-dream in the middle of the night, wiping a thin film of sweat from his brow. The quiet around him felt wrong, too absolute, and unsettled him. The same feeling had come over him during the day. He stood and threw off the covers, pacing to the window. His body trembled, not with cold, but with a raw, instinctive fear that flared when life is threatened. His formless mental force surged, sweeping through the rooms of Shu Junyo and the others. Eyes narrow, he checked them one by one. Everyone in town had plunged into a deep sleep. Shu Junyu, Elder Han, even the titled Douluo, unconscious and unaware. A mental spirit ability that can knock even titled Douluo into a heavy sleep without any warning, he murmured. He dismissed the idea of waking them. Whoever had done this had made their intent clear. There could be no time to rouse the others and prepare. To put even titled Douluo to sleep without their noticing, the attacker's power had to be enormous. Either a super Douluo-level mental expert, a mental attribute spirit beast with a cultivation over 100,000 years, or something far older and more terrifying, so powerful that Shu Yan could scarcely guess where it ranked. He cast a quick, lingering look at Hanruoro's sleeping profile, then a silver light flashed across his body, and he stepped out into the narrow street. "Senior, since you've come, show yourself," he called into the night, his voice carried on the breeze. Only silence answered. The wind toyed with his medium-length black hair and the hems of his clothes. Moonlight carved his face into something cold and resolute. He was a striking sight, dangerous and still. Footsteps sounded suddenly behind him. Shu Yan spun, but before he could act, a dark green figure had materialized before him. A sickly sweet scent hit him, and an oppressive spirit power wrapped his body. His spirit and spirit power were sealed. "Heh, your bearing and perception are not bad, but your strength, truly too weak," came a charming, seductive voice in his ear. White fabric filled his field of vision, then a face, peerlessly beautiful, hovered above. In the moonlight, those dark green eyes gleamed like jewels, dangerous and inscrutable. Up close, he could see every exquisite line of her face. Even he had to admit the heavens had favored its creator. "Senior, I don't know who you are, but why have you come?" Shu Yan demanded, holding his posture despite the binding force. The woman raised a slender hand and hooked his chin with delicate fingers. 4 dark green demonic markings appeared on each side of her face. Behind her, the night was swallowed by an intense green haze. Countless web-like threads crisscrossed the air. Somewhere in that darkness, 2 scarlet eyes opened, radiating strange mental fluctuations that surged directly into Shu Yan's mental sea. Dazed, he felt something slippery glide across his neck, and a voice, honeyed and hypnotic, whispered as if promising possession. "What I want, from the beginning to the end, is you." Chapter 75, Soul-Eating Spider Emperor. Shu Yan's consciousness drifted toward chaos. Memories from both lives flickered past like a slideshow, his previous life overlapping with this one until past and present blurred together. He felt as if his mind had fallen into a bottomless abyss, perceiving nothing but endless void and despair. In that trance, he thought he heard a sharp, piercing cry. Then everything went black as his consciousness was swallowed by chaos. When the mist of the late night finally thinned, a drop of cold rain tapped his cheek. Shu Yan's eyelids fluttered. His chaotic awareness slowly pieced itself back together. His clothes and hair were soaked and clung to his skin. The first sensation was not confusion, but a bone-deep splitting pain inside his head, an agony that felt like a piece of his soul had been torn away. Even the slightest thought made him dizzy and tremble. The little green lake in his spiritual sea rippled, and a surge of pure life energy poured out, temporarily suppressing the pain. A thin, ethereal voice, the life spirit, spoke softly. "Master, thank goodness you're awake." While Shu Yan had been unconscious, the life spirit's newborn consciousness had suffered interference, but it still worked frantically to mend the worst damage in his spiritual sea. When the pain eased a fraction, Shu Yan heard the roar of the nearby river. On its bank, not far off, a woman in a dark green dress stood staring into the distance. Noting his movement, she turned slightly. A flicker of red glowed in her eyes before she laughed. "You're an unusual one," she said. "I didn't even detect such a terrifying trump card hidden in your spiritual sea. My attempt to devour it failed. If anything, I nearly harmed myself." Shu Yan pushed himself up from the sandy shore. From the last image he'd glimpsed before passing out, he knew the woman before him could not be human. Her chi surpassed even that of the Crimson King he had previously encountered. She was a peerless spirit beast, her cultivation far older than 300,000 years. "Senior," Shu Yan croaked after a few coughs, "do you need the life energy from my spiritual sea?" She only nodded. She raised her hand as if to catch the night wind, but only the chill on her fingertips remained. "I don't have much time," she said. "My spiritual sea was shattered, my origin leaks away every minute, and with it my life is fading. I tried desperately to fix it for 1,000 years, and only now do I see a sliver of hope." "You were very lucky and very unlucky," she continued. "Lucky because you have an immense amount of life energy, so much it startled me. If I could take it, I might repair my spiritual sea. Unlucky because you were almost consumed by me. Overall, though, you're fortunate. I made a rather absurd decision just now." She turned slowly. Her figure was statuesque, well over 2 meters tall, and utterly perfect in proportion. When her eyes met his, she smiled, voice surprisingly gentle. "The spiritual seed in your sea is of extraordinary origin. It's too powerful. I couldn't devour your spiritual sea or even siphon its life energy. I tried to force it, but at the final moment the seed repelled me and even absorbed some of my already dwindling origin. I don't know your background, but you're the most brilliant and mysterious human I've met. After thinking it through, I chose to fuse with you, to seek a new path through you. This is likely my last struggle. My remaining origin can only sustain me about 30 more years of conscious existence. What could I possibly accomplish in 30 years? Besides you, I had no better option." Shu Yan absorbed her words and after a moment asked, "Senior, what are you?" She glanced at him and answered plainly, "My true form is a spirit beast with both demonic and spiritual attributes, the soul-eating spider emperor. My cultivation barely broke through to 500,000 years. Kid, you really hit the jackpot." "Soul-eating spider emperor?" Shu Yan repeated, stunned. Before he could speak further, she continued, as if trying to get something off her chest. "I wasn't born in this barren land. I was an outcast from the Stardew Great Forest. My elder sister was a 100,000-year soul-eating spider emperor. After she was killed by that Rakshasa god in your human past, I, only 90,000 years in cultivation then, was hunted by those who bore grudges against my sister. I had to flee my territory. Later, I had a chance and devoured a nearly 10,000-year-old jadeite swan. The enormous life energy in its body pushed me to the 100,000-year stage. The beast god grew furious and sent the dark gold Dreadclaw Bear King, Xiang Jun, to exterminate me. That fool Xiang Jun was arrogant and underestimated me. He forgot that our devil spider clan can create substitute bodies. With one, I escaped Xiangjun's clutches. But the power gap was too wide. Though I slipped away, Xiangjun left me gravely wounded. I fled the Stardew Great Forest and spent almost 1,000 years in this barren land to recover. A flicker of surprise crossed Shu Yan's face. His fear had ebbed. After a pause, he said, "So you withstood 4 heavenly tribulations over those 10,000 years?" She nodded, voice carrying the weight of memory. 10,000 years ago, this place wasn't the wasteland it is now. I turned it into a barren land piece by piece. Hatred and resentment drove me to madness. I devoured most of the life here. The constant inflow of soul and origin power accelerated my cultivation. Later, your human war 4,000 years ago and the ensuing beast tide poured immeasurable soul resentment into me. Those 2 events alone pushed my cultivation up by nearly 200,000 years. If I counted up, half of my 500,000 years of cultivation came from your kind. Chapter 76, Soul-Devouring Spider King. Shu Yan's pupils tightened. The casualties from the war where the 3 nations stopped the Sun Moon Empire over 4,000 years ago, soldiers, civilians, even spirit masters, had approached 10 million. The deaths during the beast tide were lower than in the 4-nation war, but still numbered well over 1 million. Humans had studied the soul-eating spider emperor, a spirit beast at the summit of the spider-type hierarchy. There had even been a notorious evil soul master who once wielded the soul-eating spider emperor. Aside from the Rakshasa god Bibi Dong, the strongest of those had reached level 98 before finally being wiped out through the combined efforts of the 3 nations' powerhouses and Shrek Academy. But the price had been staggering. 3 titled Douluo lost, and 2 super Douluo crippled, their foundations severely damaged. From then on, the soul-eating spider emperor's spirit had been branded evil. Whenever it appeared, all the continent's forces hunted it together. What made the soul-eating spider emperor so fearsome was its ability to rapidly raise its cultivation and strength by devouring the souls or grudges of living beings. If what this woman said was true, the 2 great disasters that had stunted human development had quietly bred a formidable, vicious beast powerhouse. News like that would shake the whole continent. "So, Senior, are you trying to make a god?" Shu Yan asked after a moment's silence. The woman smiled as if mildly surprised. "God-making, an absurd word, yet it fits my idea very well. You're sharp. I almost forgot to say, I saw some very fresh things in your memory earlier. Compared to our world, you're unique." "What did you see?" Shu Yan asked evenly. "Let me think. It's nothing concrete, just strange fragments. I can't say what they are exactly, but I'm sure those things don't belong to our world." "You seem to be hiding a big secret, but with my power, I can only glimpse so much." She chuckled, and there was an eager, predatory light in her eyes as she looked at him. Shu Yan smiled faintly. "With your ability, you could have killed us without anyone ever knowing. Why follow us at all?" Her smile faded. She regarded him with depth and then spoke softly. "You know about luck, don't you?" Shu Yan nodded. "Of course. The Tao of luck is profound and mysterious, but its existence in our world is undeniable." She smiled at that. "When your mental force reaches a certain height, you don't just perceive the ordinary world. Some ethereal things that are invisible to most people become perceptible and even malleable to you. My mental force is theoretically almost at the demigod level. My mental origin leans toward divine sense. I can say frankly that in this era only the evil-eye tyrant dominator and the ice silkworm of the Stardew Great Forest surpass me in mental force. I noticed you not merely because the life aura around you is vast, but because of your luck. For several millennia, I've visited the human world now and then. I've seen many spirit master powerhouses, righteous and evil, throughout your history. But whether Super Douluo or Limit Douluo, even the brilliant geniuses of your era, none had luck like yours. Do you understand what I mean?" Shu Yan forced a wry laugh. "Senior, are you saying you never truly intended to kill me?" She raised an eyebrow and shook her head. "At first I intended to watch and then act. Your group's perception is sharp. You left without sensing me. I admit I was hasty. I briefly thought to kill and devour you, but that thought faded fast. Your luck didn't waver when I appeared. It grew. In that moment I realized I'm not the calamity destined for you. You are the key to my survival." Shu Yan's interest sharpened. If all evil spirit beasts were as calm and clever as you, the spirit master world would change drastically. Evil spirit beast? The woman looked at him, half smiling. I like that name. I recall 3,000 years ago, I once made a powerhouse from one of your human forces kneel and chant evil spirit beast, unforgivable by heaven, 1,000 times. He begged and compromised for those behind him. It was quite a sight. Pity an evil spirit beast like me keeps promises the least of all. Hearing that familiar remark, Shu Yan blurted, "Which human force was that?" "Oh, let me see. If memory serves, it was a force called the Tang sect." She covered her mouth and laughed softly. No wonder. Tang sect's founder, Tang San, always hated spider-type spirit beasts. Her shape wavered as she approached. Dark green mist curled around her, and her beautiful human form dissolved. Before Shu Yan rose a massive, ferocious dark green spider. 8 colossal legs dug into the hard rock, viscous poisonous droplets falling and steaming on the ground. Her dark green eyes, flecked with red, were bottomless and terrifying, as if they could drag Shu Yan into an abyss. "Your body is strong enough to bear part of my power," she said. "During fusion, you may absorb energy from me until you reach your limit. I will seal any excess in your mental ocean. Fusion is not sacrifice. Sacrifice would cost me too much. If my remaining mental origin took further damage, it might dissipate completely. I won't take that risk. When you need your 6th spirit ring, I'll release the origin power I've sealed. If things go well, your 6th spirit ring will reach the 100,000-year level. Your other spirit rings can also draw energy from my origin to increase their ages." The dark green mist rushed over Shu Yan. A vast power, cold and malevolent, surged into him without warning. Tempered by the spirit of life's gold, his body held firm. He grunted, then sat cross-legged and began to absorb the energy as fast as he could. "Oh, kid, I take back calling this a good bargain for you. What a terrifying backing. I'm the one who got the bargain." The woman's voice brimmed with pleasure at his physique, clearly satisfied. Suddenly, inside Shu Yan's mental ocean, silver light exploded from his mental origin. The Spider Emperor's massive body stiffened. A thread of silver light shot out from her soul and intertwined with that silver light. Her voice paused. Then she snorted coldly and sneered. "Oh, protective of its master, are we? The moment I stepped into your domain, it forced a soul contract with me. Kid, I'm getting more and more curious about your origin. Where exactly do you come from?" Chapter 77. Inside the sea of mental force, a figure in a dark green gown slowly took form. Shiji stood there, surveying the boundless mental space and the shimmering emerald lake below. She cold, small, though a flash of surprise passed through her eyes. Beside her floated 4 enormous dark green orbs of light, silent and steady. They were the bulk of her origin, the vast power she had accumulated over tens of thousands of years by devouring the souls of countless beings. After her fusion with Shu Yan, most of that power had become part of him. Nevertheless, the gains she kept were still immense. After breaking through the 400,000-year heavenly tribulation, she had suffered heavy damage to her origin. She had barely patched the wounds by devouring life-strong beings, but her luck ran out during the 500,000-year tribulation. Old hidden dangers erupted all at once. Though she had prepared, barely surviving the calamity, her sea of mental force had been shattered. For any ordinary spirit beast or human, a broken sea would have meant certain death. But Shiji was a mental attribute vicious beast. Her control over the mental force domain was unimaginably powerful. By sheer force of will and reserve mental force, she prolonged her life, but the loss of her mental origin could not be stopped. Bit by bit, it drained away. If it ever ran out, her sea would be a hollow shell. Her soul would have nowhere to anchor and would fall into an eternal slumber, practically death. It was a slow, complex, and painful decline, worse than sudden death. Such pure, vast life energy. What a pity, she murmured. If only I'd had this sooner. Maybe then I could have actually contended with the beast god. She curled a finger. A surge of life energy rose from the lake and flowed into her mental origin, nourishing it. I'll borrow a little of your energy. You don't mind, do you? She glanced at an emerald pearl nearby and smiled. If Master allows it, please do. A serene, ethereal voice responded, the voice of the life spirit. The amount Shiji drew, if measured outwardly, was roughly equivalent to the combined life energy of a 30,000-year-old emerald sky swan. Astonishing in itself, yet next to the whole lake it was nothing, an ant next to an elephant. Interesting, the life spirit said. I hadn't noticed before, but your soul is exceptionally pure. If I'd been able to devour you earlier, I imagine I would have benefited greatly. Shiji stuck out her tongue and licked her red lips, amused. She twirled a strand of dark green hair between her fingers and took the emerald pearl, the life spirit's consciousness, into her hand. The life spirit remained as placid as a capybara, paying no heed to her threats. After a long pause without response, Shiji tossed the pearl aside with bored disinterest. Then Shu Yan's figure appeared. "Oh," Shiji said, surprised despite herself. "Fusion speed is quite fast, isn't it?" Shu Yan's expression was neutral. He studied the 4 light orbs circling Shiji, and a thin spark of eagerness showed in his eyes. Shiji noticed the look and smiled slightly. "Each of these orbs represents 100,000 years of my cultivation," she explained. "My cultivation method is singular, so my energy is extremely pure, higher quality than most spirit beasts of the same rank. There should have been 5 orbs, but your strength and adaptability surprised me. I left that portion of energy for you to absorb. It'll tell me where your limits really lie." After a moment, she added, "Although much of my mental origin is gone, my inherent mental attribute remains intact. If you're willing to take the risk, I can try to integrate my mental attribute into your spirit." Shu Yan arched a brow. "Is the chance of success high?" "Difficult to say," she answered, "but it shouldn't be a major problem. Keep in mind, an acquired attribute needs time to properly integrate with the spirit. Even if the fusion succeeds, the attribute's rank likely won't reach the level of my main body. As for my evil attribute, you probably wouldn't want it attached to your core. I've sealed it into a spirit bone. I can give you a spirit bone that carries only the evil attribute, no mental attribute attached. Which part do you want?" Shu Yan thought for a beat. "The right arm bone." "Right arm, then." Shiji nodded without surprise. Having lost much of her mental aspect, she had no need to hand over a head spirit bone. He could choose something more fitting as he grew stronger. She could even provision him with a torso bone as a potential core if needed. They chatted for a while, then Shu Yan asked, "Sheiji, do you know of a 100,000-year spirit beast suitable for Ruo-Roji?" "Ruo-Roji? Your older girlfriend?" Sheiji teased. Shu Yan nodded. "You should have sensed it too. She just broke through to rank 80 recently and needs a suitable spirit ring." Shiji laughed and drifted closer, her figure alluring. She touched her red lips. Her eyes flashed like gemstones as she looked at Shu Yan with kittenish pleading. "In looks and figure, I'm not inferior to that human woman. Why don't you ditch her and let your big sister spoil you? I'll make you feel better than ever." A crisp sound cut the air. Shiji's body stiffened. Behind her, Shu Yan had appeared via teleportation and withdrawn his hand. He inspected her curiously. "Not bad. The elasticity is pretty good." He stepped back, a faint, dry tone in his voice. "But compared to you, this black-hearted spider demon, I think Ruo-Roji is more suitable for you." Shiji's face flickered with anger and resentment, then folded into melancholy. "You're not a good person," she said softly. "Before the fusion, you were willing to call me senior. After the fusion, you act like master. Do you think you can control me now?" Shu Yan tapped his chest and grinned. "Don't flatter yourself. I'm not a good person, but there's an old saying, a real man knows when to yield and when to stand firm. Since you fell into my hands, if I don't teach you some discipline, I'd be letting down the version of me who almost got killed by you before." "Get out!" Shiji snapped, genuinely annoyed. For the first time in a while, she felt like she'd landed in a den of thieves and that her days ahead would be difficult. "Give me the spirit beast information, and I'll leave immediately," she said. Shu Yan's voice came light and calm. "Head north into the ice sea. Follow the route I give you. There's a 100,000-year phantom sea octopus king there. It only broke through to the 100,000-year rank within the last 1,000 years, and it suffered severe injuries during its tribulation. Its current fighting strength is at most half of its peak. Your group can kill it without trouble." Sheiji's voice, mournful and Guimei-like, echoed in the sea of mental force. Is that guy your reserve food? You could say that, Shu Yan replied. Sea spirit beast souls taste much better than land beasts, or you humans. Remember not to waste that soul when the time comes. Devouring it will be good for your mental force. Shiji answered once more, then fell silent, no longer wanting to bother him. Shu Yan didn't speak further. His body of condensed mental force slowly dispersed as his consciousness returned to his physical body. Chapter 78, Ice Sea, the 100,000-year Phantom Sea Octopus King. When Shu Yan returned to the town, Shiji's mental spirit ability, what she had used earlier, was just beginning to fade. Dawn was tinting the sky, and the thick, opaque fog had thinned enough that the town's outline could be seen hazily in the morning air. Shu Yan went back to the inn, on the second floor, found Shu Junyo standing by the railing. Dad, you're up early, Shu Yan said with a small laugh. Shu Junyo only stared for a moment, then spoke quietly. I was waiting for you. Shu Yan wasn't surprised. Shu Junyo was a titled Douluo. No matter how powerful Shiji's mental control had been, once it dissipated, the oddity of everyone's deep sleep would be obvious. Titled and spirit Douluo never slept deeply in unfamiliar places. They meditated to recover their body and spirit. To suddenly fall into a dead sleep, like they had last night, was plainly abnormal. Unless Shiji had done more to hide it, someone would notice. Tell me exactly what happened last night, Shu Junyo said. Don't say nothing. Your aura has more than doubled since yesterday, and the quality of your spirit power has changed. This isn't small. Shu Yan chuckled and shook his head. We'll explain when everyone wakes. I can say this. It was a huge gain for me, and Ro's 8th spirit ring is settled, but we need to go to the Ice Sea. Shu Junyo studied him for a long moment, then stepped aside to clear the way. When Shu Yan told the group what had happened, disbelief flickered across faces. After a while, as everyone adjusted to the news, Elder Han glanced at the wooden door of their room. A Han family spirit Douluo was stationed outside the door, but with the spirit power seal, he couldn't hear what was happening inside. Grandpa Han turned to Shu Yan and asked slowly, Shu Yan, are you certain this is true? Shu Yan met his gaze and answered seriously, Elder, I wouldn't joke about something like this. Grandpa Han fell silent, his worry obvious on his face, just as it was on Yu Bingyan and Han Ruoro. 100,000-year evil spirit beast was a disaster-level danger. A vicious beast-class malevolent spirit of that age was like a nuclear bomb, capable of devastating a region. In terms of raw cultivation, a spirit beast that surpassed 50,000 years was already comparable to a human limit Douluo. That meant Shiji, at her peak, would possess limit Douluo-level power. In cultivation alone, the speed of her rise was terrifying. Within 10,000 years, she had outpaced the dark gold Dreadclaw Bear King Xiangjun, the one who had nearly killed her. Even if her total combat strength might not match Xiangjun in every way, beings like the Scarlet King and Demon Spirit would have no easy way to contend with her. Shu Yan could tell the others doubted him, but he simply said, I know it sounds impossible, but it's true. I don't want to say more now. Let's move. The Ice Sea is still far. They watched Shu Yan walk off, words stuck in their throats, and then hurried to follow. The Ice Sea lay north and east of the extreme Northland. Because of the bitter climate, much of it was frozen. Close to the dueling empire, the sea still ran, but was dotted with countless ice floes and bergs. A few risky shipping lanes cut through the area, and brave fishermen ventured into the cold to catch rare sea creatures whose meat fetched sky-high prices among nobles. Over the past millennia, sea spirit masters and organized ice sea hunting teams had developed. These teams specialized in guiding clients into the Ice Sea. Their fees were high, but so were the risks and the quality of the spirit beasts that lived there. They flew about 200 meters above the water. The air had already dropped below freezing, and the wind bit like knives, rattling their robes, though abundant spirit power gave them enough protection that extra layers weren't necessary, unless they were going deep into the extreme Northland, where no garment could keep out the cold. Following the direction Shiji had given, they tracked north for roughly 1,000 kilometers before entering the Phantom Sea Octopus King's territory. In the Sea of Consciousness, Shiji idly felt the surroundings after Shu Yan's summons, then said in a flat voice, It's in an underwater fissure about 1,500 meters ahead to the left. No other overly powerful sea spirit beasts within 10 kilometers. You handle it. Don't bother me unless something important happens. I'm in a very bad mood. She cut off communication without waiting for a response and went back to quietly nourishing her spirit origin. Shu Yan kept silent. There would be time to deal with Sheiji later. After Shu Junyo and Grandpa Han confirmed the location, they exchanged a look and transformed into two streaks of light, piercing the surface and plunging toward the seabed. The sea surface erupted a short while later. Columns of water 10 meters across shot up into the air, and a titanic tentacle more than 30 meters long smashed back down, sending waves crashing in every direction. The water boiled as though it had come alive. A low, dragon-like roar rolled through the spray, and a dark figure was forced upward by a beam of black light. The phantom sea octopus king finally revealed itself. An immense creature over 50 meters long. Its skin was the deep blue of the sea. 8 massive tentacles, each lined with hundreds of identical suckers, radiated from its body. 4 of those tentacles were bound by a glowing golden rope. One of the remaining limbs had been nearly severed by a fierce blow, its end hanging bloodlessly in the water. For a moment it seemed catastrophic. Then a faint blue radiance flared, and the severed half regrew with alarming speed. The golden rope that had held the creature snapped free and fell back into Grandpa Han's hand. The phantom sea octopus king shook itself, and the sea shuddered with the force of its bulk. Chapter 79, Phantom Sea Octopus King. If one were to ask what the Phantom Sea Octopus King's most abnormal ability was, it would be its astonishingly powerful regenerative capacity. Limb regrowth and rebirth were trivial to it. In that regard, it was somewhat like Shu Yan. As long as its brain wasn't destroyed, its physical body could recover and be reborn in a very short time. But while Shu Yan relied on the vast life energy from the spirit of life's gold, the Phantom Sea Octopus King's recovery was purely an instinctive racial trait. Suddenly, the sky above flared brilliant gold, suffused with a sacred aura. 3 golden sword chi, each over 5 meters long, plunged down and left 3 terrible gashes across the Phantom Sea Octopus King. "Humans, how dare you?" a low, terrified, angry voice bellowed. Already badly wounded by the heavenly tribulation, the Phantom Sea Octopus King thrashed violently in the sea. Though it was a 100,000-year spirit beast, its strength had been severely depleted. At most, it could barely contend with a human titled Douluo. Surrounded by 2 titled Douluo and 3 spirit Douluo, it had no chance of survival. It seemed to subconsciously ignore Shu Yan. He was only at Spirit King rank. "Dare? We can do even more daring," came Yu Bingyan's cold snort from above. The 5th spirit ring beneath her feet flashed, and she pointed a brilliant golden slender longsword toward the sky. A surge of golden spirit power shot upward, and a sacred aura formed a golden domain roughly 300 meters across, centered on her. Angel Martial Soul, 5th spirit ability, Angelic Domain. Inside the domain, allies received attribute boosts while enemies suffered attribute reductions and slowed movement. The Angelic Domain also continuously dissolved and decomposed opponents' spirit power. Though not as complete as the Angelic Domain of the Seraphim Martial Soul, it was essentially a weakened version of that power, still a formidable top-tier domain-type spirit ability. At that moment, the Han family's spirit Douluo finally released his spirit. 8 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 3 purple, and 3 black, rose and an all-gold staff manifested in his hand. The mutated golden rope spirit, a control support spirit, golden staff. His 3rd, 5th, and 7th spirit rings beneath his feet flared at once. 5 golden lights shot into the 5 companions, and a surging golden aura intensified each of their presences. Dimensional cut. Shu Yan acted first. A silver slash, sharp as an arrow, streaked straight toward the Phantom Sea Octopus King's brain. The brain was the true core of its life, and also the toughest, most anomalously defended part of its body. Even a powerhouse like Shu Hong might not be able to break through the brain's defenses completely in a short time, especially given its rapid self-recovery. Shu Yan, however, had a 5th spirit ability designed to counter beings with extreme defenses or regeneration. While he struck, Han Roro and the others attacked to restrict the beast's movements. The dimensional cut hit the brain directly, ripping open the defenses with a huge gash. Flesh surged to regenerate, but the silver spirit power significantly slowed its healing. Hanruoro's jade hand trembled, then she flung out the golden rope. It became a golden stream of light and drilled directly into the wound. The Phantom Sea Octopus King roared in despair, its struggles maddened, but then, with a sharp fading cry, its eyes dulled and its vast body gradually stilled, floating quietly in the sea. A moment later, a fierce surge of golden light burst from its body, and the golden rope violently snapped free, signaling the complete destruction of the beast's life. Blood-red energy coalesced, and the surrounding space felt briefly denser. A huge blood-red spirit ring slowly condensed on the corpse. A fierce, majestic aura of spirit power spread out. Even an elder like Grandpa Han couldn't hide a flicker of envy. Ruo, are you confident? Grandpa Han's concern replaced his initial envy. Absorbing 100,000-year spirit ring placed enormous demands on a spirit master's physical condition and mental force. If Hanruoro were trying to reach the 9th ring, Grandpa Han wouldn't worry. Absorbing such an old spirit ring at the 9th ring wouldn't strain her. But she only needed the 8th ring. 100,000 years exceeded what would normally be safe for her to absorb. If anything went wrong, she could face mortal danger. At best, she might end up like Zhang Lexuan, lucky but broken. Hanruoro hesitated only a moment before steeling herself. Grandpa, no matter what, I have to try, she said. Grandpa Han shook his head helplessly. He'd feared this. Shu Yan stepped to her side and murmured, Go for it, Ruo-Ruo-Jie. She blinked at him, gave a light smile, and nodded. As the vast energy flowed into her body, Hanruoro let out a muffled groan. Her body convulsed and trembled. It's still a bit forced. I hope Ruo-Ruo's can hold until the absorption finishes. Yu Bingyan sighed softly. Meanwhile, Shu Yan watched Hanruoro closely, and Shi Ji in his mental force C was working as well. Shu Yan had devoured the Phantom Sea Octopus King's soul and its resentment at the moment of death, which indirectly eased the burden on Hanruoro. After devouring the beast's soul, Shu Yan felt his consciousness clear, his mental force swell rapidly, and his spirit power tick upward to the 58 mark. He also learned more about the feedback Sheiji provided when she consumed a soul. Normally, Sheiji herself absorbed roughly 40% of the gains from devouring a soul. The remaining 60% went to Shu Yan. Of that portion, Shu Yan received about 70% fed into his mental force domain, while roughly 30% strengthened his spirit power cultivation. Even so, the improvement was terrifyingly fast. Shu Yan now understood, in part, why some were driven crazy by evil soul mastery. If one could gain cultivation so rapidly by devouring souls, many would be unable to resist. Once they started, they'd sink deeper and deeper, no longer masters of the power, but slaves to it, because the pleasure of swift advancement and the allure of overwhelming strength were that addictive. Chapter 80, The End, Vacation Countdown. In the blink of an eye, nearly a day had passed. During those hours, the Phantom Sea Octopus King's immense power had nearly overwhelmed Hanruoro. By sheer force of will, she had endured. Her clothes were soaked with her own blood. Where it had dried, dark red scabs crusted her exposed skin. She had made it through the most dangerous phase, though. Now, she only needed to finish absorbing the spirit ring and regain consciousness. Grandpa Han's face showed relief, braided with worry. It was almost certain Hanruoro would succeed in taking a 100,000-year spirit ring, but forcing such an absorption took a heavy toll. Zhang Lexuan was a clear warning. She had forcibly absorbed a 100,000-year spirit ring and a spirit bone while still badly wounded after a bloody battle. Though she had barely survived, it still took more than half a year of intensive treatment at Shrek Academy, even with Zhuang Lao and the healing system's best efforts, to fully recover. Hanruoro, a control system spirit master and a quasi-spirit Douluo, had slightly lower physical quality than Zhang Lexuan, but a stronger mental force. Still, rest after this would be unavoidable. Shu Yan, however, had fewer concerns. With the gold of life, he could help Hanruoro recover her internal injuries. He had Shiji examine her. The internal damage was severe but controllable. With abundant life energy, the injuries could be mended quickly. It was dawn on the 3rd day when Hanruoro finally completed the absorption. Shu Yan helped her to her feet. Grandpa Han had found a 100,000-year right leg bone among the Phantom Sea Octopus King's remains. Sea spirit beasts usually produced left and right leg bones. Head or torso bones showed up only occasionally. Shu Yan had never seen arm bones from sea spirit beasts. Hanroro took the water pouch Shu Yan offered and wet her lips. Just as she was about to speak, her body went rigid. A vast, pure surge of life energy flooded into her like a sudden rain after a long drought. It repaired her meridians and origin points. For a moment, she nearly moaned in relief. Grandpa Han handed her the right leg bone and, looking at her battered form, sighed. "Girl, it's a good thing you held on. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known how to face your parents." Hanroro managed a gentle smile. "Grandpa, I'm fine. Don't worry about unnecessary things." Relief smoothed the old man's features. A 100,000-year eighth spirit ring. This was unprecedented in the history of spirit masters. Across the spirit master world, those who could absorb such a ring at the 8th level were extraordinarily rare. Nearly all had become legendary figures. Shu Junyu surveyed the area and finally spoke. "We should leave. This isn't a place to stay." They had already driven away several powerful sea spirit beasts that had been lurking at the edges. If they lingered, more trouble would come. Everyone agreed. Yu Bingyan helped Hanruro up first, then Shu Yan and the others followed. Not long after they left, more than a dozen sea spirit beasts with cultivations over 10,000 years converged and tore into the Phantom Sea Octopus King's corpse. Back in Lingdo City, Grandpa Han effectively confined Hanroro at home to recuperate. Old Master Ye Ruiz of the Yi family personally treated her. The restorative power of Nine-Heart Begonia, together with the tremendous life force Shu Yan infused into her, brought Hanroro's injuries to nearly 80% healed within a week, an astonishingly fast recovery compared to Zhang Lexuan's 6 months. Hanroro was astonished herself. She had planned to return to school wounded, but now, just days after coming home, she was mostly well. On the 8th day of enforced convalescence, Hanroro finally lost patience. She glared at the steaming black medicinal pot on the table and said, exasperated, "Grandpa, didn't I tell you? I'm really fine." "Girl," Grandpa Han replied patiently, "isn't Grandpa doing this for your own good? Your body is your capital for cultivation. If you don't take care of it, my heart will never be at ease." He hesitated, then added in a softer voice, "I'm an old man with one foot in the grave, and you're my only granddaughter. Just listen to Grandpa. Take care of your body first, then consider everything else." Hanroro eyed him suspiciously for a moment. Then she said slowly, "Grandpa, are you really only keeping me here to rest, or are you trying to stop me from seeing Ayan?" The question hit a sore spot. Grandpa Han went pale, then stumbled back into his rattan chair, grief and anger warring on his face. "Girl, what's so good about that Shu family boy? Why have you liked him since you were little? You want to see him even before you're fully recovered. And in the past few days, he hasn't even come once." Hanroro's gaze was level. "Grandpa, you've been hanging around outside my courtyard. When Ayan comes, you send him away with all sorts of excuses. Of course, he can't visit openly." "Huh? What do you mean?" Grandpa Han protested at first, then realization dawned and he became flustered. "Ah, so that's why he only came twice. He was sneaking in. Girl, I'll teach that brat a lesson. He hasn't even proposed and dares to sneak into your room. If he dares to get you with child, will you be bringing me a grandson next year?" By the end, his voice had risen, his beard bristling with righteous fury. Hanroro swallowed the last mouthful of the bitter tonic, set the bowl down, and looked up at him with mock seriousness. "Grandpa," she said, "if you want one, it's not impossible. After all, I'm almost 30. I'm not exactly young anymore." Her grandfather opened his mouth, but no words came. He simply sat there, stunned.